Hello, hello, hello. Hey, I'm still here. I'm just fixing some source properties. There we go. Welcome, welcome. Hello. Sorry, we're doing this live a little bit. I wanted to make a video about a bunch of this stuff, and I just decided I'd rather do it live. I figured that would be more fun. And I figured it would be good to get some input from folks live as opposed to just only talking about it myself. We are, of course, joined by Champion, my very intrepid cat, who will likely scream at some point, so we'll probably hear him. I'll give people like another minute or two to get in here, and then we'll get going. How's everyone doing this morning? I guess it's morning for me. I don't know what it is for everyone else. Does this look okay? Can we see enough of the screen? Yeah, okay, we can see enough of the screen. Okay, okay, perfect. Oh my god. Yes, I know you're very mad. I do also need some desk space for the microphone though, you see. We don't have the microphone arm yet. Sound is a bit low. Oh yeah, I have heard that before. Let me turn the gain up a little bit. I'm also not speaking quite as clearly into my microphone as I sometimes am able to. Oh, where are you going, champion? Yes. All right, let's turn this gain up a little bit more. How's that for people? Is that better? Still pretty quiet. I'll try and talk a bit louder too. I was kind of half whispering at first there, I think. I don't know. Yeah, in full cam it's probably easier to see, but we do have he's a very involved cat. Loves to get in there. Okay, cool. I think this is probably good. I think we can probably okay, yeah, sound better. Excellent. Excellent. Glad to hear it. Um okay, let me just the one other thing I need to do is I didn't do this last time, but I think there's a way to look at your dashboard live. Da, da. No? Okay. Yeah, the dedicated cat cam is definitely in the works. Fret not. I think I would be a fool not to set up the cat cam. um so yeah, we'll definitely be cat camming. I even have a second webcam because I bought a new webcam when I started this channel to have something that was in 60 FPS. So we have a second webcam that can it's set and ready to be used as a cat camera. I've also moved a cat tower here. Unfortunately, this is well, he's my second largest cat, but he doesn't fit on the cat tower especially comfortably, I don't think. So he tends to like to be on the desk instead. Okay. Okay. So plan for stream today. We've given people enough time to roll in. Plan for stream today is a couple of things. Number one, I want to talk about the results from Riftbound's most recent regional qualifier. Obviously, I made a video like a week ago being like, oh, this Master Yi deck sure can't convert to winning tournaments, and then it won the tournament this weekend. So that was pretty funny. I want to talk about a couple of other cool innovations at that tournament that I saw, some interesting best of lists. And then I know there was an OCG ban list, and I saw a bunch of other people reacting to it. I haven't looked at it yet. I just pulled it up, and I know one spoiler for one of the changes in it, but I'm pretty interested to look at it, and I'm hoping that there might be people in the chat who can potentially also give me some context on some of the stuff going on in the OCG to understand why some of these changes were made. But overall, pretty exciting. Oh geez. Okay. So without further ado, let me pull up the, oh my God, what am I doing here? Rare, not mind-boggling OCG ban list. Yeah, I have heard that. I've heard that they're usually kind of confounding. Okay, so we'll start with RQ Hartford, and then we can go to OCG afterwards, because I think I'm going to try and give kind of an equal amount of time to both, and I'll try to update the stream title as, yeah, okay, I can update the stream title as we go. Great, that's perfect. So RQ Hartford happened this weekend. Very exciting tournament. I think that there were lots of interesting developments. At the same time, there was a fair amount of expected results, I think I would say as well, right? I think we can kind of agree that this was about what was expected. So obviously, as I mentioned in the kind of preamble, Master Yi ended up taking down the tournament in the hands of Factor at 14-1. Then we had 3 Diana players in the top 8. We had a Pike and an Annie, an Ezreal, and pretty excitingly, we had a Lux player as well, which is also very cool. And then in the top 16, some more of the usual suspects: Azir, Aurelia. Misfortune being the highest placing Dazzling Aurora deck is pretty interesting, and a Rek'Sai deck getting close is also pretty interesting. So I guess before we start talking about the specific cards, I do want to talk about one thing that happened with this tournament that I think was really mid, and like is probably something Riot needs to address going forward. So for those who weren't watching, this tournament ended up with 8 players at 11-1-1 at the end of the Swiss, and 1 player at 11-0-2. And so what happened was, like, typically at the end of tournaments of this size, this was 13 rounds, cut the top 8. Typically, when you get to the end of 13 rounds, there's like maybe 6 players who can draw into top 8 intentionally. And then you have like maybe 8 players battling for the last 2 top 8 spots. In this event, we had 6 players who drew in the last round thinking that they were locked for top 8. But then by virtue of the way that the pairings worked, Prismaticism had to play to make top 8, and Ben Whites, who's a longtime Magic player, by the way, for anyone curious where he came from, also had to play. He got paired down because I believe he was 11-0-1. No, yeah, he was 10-1-1 going into the last round. So he had to play. He couldn't draw. And this player, Gubbums, had to play. Prismaticism had to play. And they all won. And so as a result, we ended up with a situation where it worked out that one of the players who played in the last round was one of the players on the outside looking in. But actually, like, this player, Miru, the Pike player, they drew in round 13, and they could have drawn into missing top 8 if their breakers had been slightly worse, which I think is a testament to the fact that these large Riftbound tournaments, this one was 1950, which I believe is the cap, and it sold out instantly. But these probably need to be one more round. I don't think I think that it is a bad look competitively for players to be missing the top 8 on X1 and 1. Like that's crazy. I don't think that that's a thing that can be happening. And like additionally, like we had a bunch of players at X2 and X2 didn't even have a chance to make top 8, which is also, I think, pretty rough. I think that in general you want to avoid those kinds of situations, I guess, is what I would say. But in terms of the actual results, there's lots of pretty interesting things to talk about. I think one of the things that a lot of people are going to point to right away as being kind of the breakout deck of this tournament is this combo Lux deck. So combo, not a kind of archetype that's been especially highly represented in Riftbound to date. There have been a couple of like theoretical infinite combos. There's a battlefield. The battlefields, for context, are the things that you choose at the beginning of the game. And then there's one that says, I think if you have 9 units on this at the beginning phase, you win the game. So there were like some victor lists that were playing to do that, but you could only do it in one of the 2 games that you had to win. So you couldn't really be a full combo deck. And this Lux deck is the first actual factual combo deck that's put up like really high quality results. Interestingly, it's not the only combo deck that we're going to talk about today. And actually, here, let me make myself a little bigger. And actually, there was another combo deck that did well at this tournament, which is pretty interesting. So we'll talk about that one after as well. The basic idea with the Lux combo deck, for those who are uninitiated, is that you are looking to play this as basically like a deep draw FTK or OTK deck. So it's not a deck where you are trying to assemble a specific combination of cards per se. You do literally need to get to the bottom of your deck. And the reason for that, and the reason this deck works, is because Riftbound's mechanic for removing cards from loops tends to be recycling, and recycling means put you on the bottom of the deck. And that is going to ultimately be problematic in this case. So the way this loop works is that you use Echo Recurrent, you use Forge of the Future, you use the card Sacrifice, and then you have something else in the loop. It depends on what exactly you're looping is going to be the 4th card. But basically what you can do with these cards is you can play Echo, sacrifice Echo. This is going to let you draw 2 cards and channel a rune, but also importantly, it lets you recycle Echo, put them on the bottom of your deck to ready all of your runes, which means you get to go plus on runes. And then you use Forge of the Future to put back all the cards you need for the combo. So like I mentioned, there's different things that you end up using. Sometimes you end up using Retreat to go infinite on power. Sometimes you end up using, not Rally the Troops, Sprite Burst to go infinite on sprites. You can also go infinite on recruits because every time you play a Forge the Future of the Future, you get a 1/1 recruit. So this basically lets you get infinite resources, infinite units, and then what this version of the deck is trying to do, and this is the big innovation that they made between last tournament where the best of Lux player got, I believe, I think they made top 64. They might have even been top 32. They weren't on Time Warp, which is the take an extra turn card. And these players were. They're on the full 3 Time Warps, which means that basically what you can do now is go infinite. You have your whole deck in your hand by virtue of playing all of these like deep draw cards, like Progress Day, draw 4. You have like Shadow's Call, where you give something temporary and draw 2 cards because you don't care about any of your units, etc., etc. And you are able to basically put infinite units into play, and then you can time warp to score a bunch of times in a row. I see a question in the chat, which is a good one, which is should combo exist in a points-based game? And I think that's a real question, and especially combo like this. I have a feeling that if this deck proves to be powerful and resilient, you are going to see something on it go on the ban list. In particular, something like Forge the Future is what I could see them targeting, because this is really the card that makes the deck tick. And ultimately, I think this deck is close to okay. Like if you were just playing like a deep draw deck that's trying to like loop Echo with Sacrifice and is maybe like trying to set up a big resource loop where you get to time warp a couple of times in a row with some sprites or something, I'm not sure that gets banned, but the fact this goes fully infinite on resources, I think is the thing that is potentially going to result in it tanking a ban. I will say, and I guess we'll talk about it now, we might as well, they have clearly demonstrated that they are okay with you win the game style cards existing in the game, because the best of Jin player, who got top 32 at 10, 2, and 1, this is also a combo deck, but it is playing Gutter Palace. And Gutter Palace is one of these you win the game style cards, where it says at the start of your beginning phase, if you have exactly 4 cards in hand and exactly 4 units at battlefields, you win the game. And then it has an activated ability where you can discard a card and exhaust it to play a 1 might bird with deflect. Yeah, Forge the Future ban would look really funny with no context. I totally agree. So like this list is trying to do like kind of comparable things, honestly, to the Lux deck. You're still doing stuff like using Echo to like basically build up a turn where you have a ton of runes. And this is trying to do stuff like get Gutter Palace in play and then play Brynhir Thundersong plus Keeper of Masks into Time Warp. And you're playing all of these cards to give you extra energy on this big combo turn, like Hextech Anomaly and Energy Conduit. And basically what you can do, because Jin's ability lets you potentially channel 4 runes and like not deramp yourself a ton when you're casting these big spells, you can have this big combo turn where you play Brynhir, you ideally already have the Gutter Palace in play, and then you can get onto a battlefield either on the Time Warp turn or the turn after, get 4 units onto it with Keeper of Masks, making some reflections and a bird, and then you play another Time Warp to win the game on your next beginning phase. Getting down to 4 cards in hand, potentially a little bit weird, but this guy clearly figured out how to do it. I think someone told me that he's going to be doing an interview on a YouTube channel sometime soon. So look out for that if you're curious about this. This list, I think, is more appropriate to the power level of what they want to have exist in Riftbound, because this deck is basically like a blue-red control deck that's like trying to fight over the board, and then you at least have some kind of like thing that you can interact with in the fact that Gutter Palace is like a gear. This is a trigger. Like there are ways for you to destroy the Gutter Palace typically. And so I think this is a bit more appropriate, but yeah, I totally agree that playing against a deck that has like no engagement with what the opponent is doing is not, I think, what this game is really aiming to be about, which is why I think that if this Lux deck turns out to be more than just a flash in the pan, I think that it is likely to receive some kind of balance adjustment, because like this deck, like it's not playing any removal. It's not planning to fight over battlefields at all. Like there's a ruination, but you're literally just playing this to use after you combo. Like you eventually, like when you've looped everything, you ruination and then you make your infinite units just so your opponent has nothing. Like this is not like you ruination to buy yourself time kind of angle. Like this is a combo piece. And so like I think that there's a decent chance that this one's gonna go. I also think that this is kind of like a potential scourge to local metagames. Like I don't know about any of you, but I think that if I brought this to locals, like I would go 004. I would never finish a round, both because like my play skill would not be high enough in the deck, but also like you would be like I think in a challenging spot to get your opponent to kind of understand how all the loops work and everything. Oh man, Minfin fee. There we go. I got there on the 3rd time. If you think the Time Warp price is bad now, let me tell you, it's been a lot worse. So basically, for anyone who's not a big Riftbound player, the Origin set, the very first set in this game, was not printed enough, especially in the West. And so all of the high rarity Origins cards that are playable are disgustingly expensive. Time Warp is a good example, but there are a couple others, like Kaisa is another one that's like pretty bad. Um, Pretty expensive. Baited Hook is pretty expensive. Dazzling Aurora, like basically any of the really powerful epics from that set are disgustingly expensive, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, anyway, so I thought this deck was pretty cool, and I think this one is like a much more, I think, reasonable uh approach to combo in the format. Like I don't mind this existing, and this is definitely like a lot more appropriate for sure. Oh yeah. I mean, this isn't even the worst one. We can look at some other ones. Like this is also like Seal of Insight is another origins card that was really expensive. You can see like they bottomed out at like $6 and they're climbing back up because uh they're finally like available. Um no, actually, like if you can get origins at MSRP, that's great. I would not be paying 190 for Spirit Forged. Spirit Forged is fine, like eminently fine. There's nothing wrong with the set, but I don't think that there's like especially crazy high value cards in it. Let's look really quick. We can Riftx is a nice site. This is the site I'm using, by the way. Um in Spirit Forged. Yeah, the seals were crazy money. And I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, okay, so tell me more about Flesh and Blood prices, cuz like my understanding is that essentially the reason why the pricing is so bad is that the format is eternal. So like a powerful card that was printed in like set 1 or like the very first set is just like playable in a bunch of different decks forever, and they have like mostly committed to not reprinting it. That's my understanding of how the Flesh and Blood monetization works and why the Flesh and Blood prices are as expensive as they are, but maybe that's wrong. Yeah, so this is Spirit Forge. Like Defiant Dance's money. Uh is Last Rites still dollars? This one might be dollars. Yeah, Last Rites spiked, so like Last Rites is dollars and wasn't when the set released, so that one's like a bit expensive. Yeah, like I would not be paying 190 for Spirit Forge. Basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. Like most of the cards in this set have dropped a fair amount, and in particular, the rares are not super expensive, which is typically how you would like expect to kind of make up your value in a box. I think like Fizz, I think, is like $9 now. This is probably the most, or $6, sure, $6 American, so $9 for me. Like that's maybe the most expensive rare in the set, I think. Maybe Aurelia, something like that, but nothing too crazy. Due to being a non-rotating game, the generic staple cards that can be played in almost every deck are expensive. Starts in play, stays in play. Yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, equipment. Um, oh yeah, Tunic. You know what? I'd specifically heard about Tunic before, and it's playable in all your decks. I do get it. Okay, that does make sense. Jam plays games. I've been thinking about getting one of the new Marvel Commander decks to get my foot in the door. Are they any good? I mean, so I will not claim to be a commander scientist by any means, but if we look at the Marvel Commander decks, maybe briefly, we can evaluate. Do you like Marvel? I guess that's the big thing I would say. If you like Marvel, then typically the new commander decks have been like relatively reasonable kind of across the board. Um, oh yeah, these look sick. I mean, these definitely look cool. Oh, sorry, I switched. Yeah, getting two over numbers in two boxes is above expected value. I think that's quite good. Yeah, I mean, these look sweet. I think the nice thing about these modern commander products is like they tend to be, if you like the themes in them, they tend to be great ways to get into the format. Like they're not going to be like ultra competitive, but they're definitely set up in a way where like you are going to play the game and you're going to have fun. Yeah, then definitely. I think these are a great place to start. Like especially if you are a person who likes Marvel, then I think it's perfect. I think it's a perfect way to get started. Yeah, then I think you're good. I think it's the right approach. Um, okay, so the only other things I wanted to talk about with the Riftbound results was I wanted to look a little bit at the metagame data. I obviously, like, the data is not a perfect representation of what's going on, but it's always pretty fun to look at the detailed statistics. And one of my favorite things about these Riftbound tournaments is that because it's a leader based game and everyone has to uh, confirm what leader they're playing, like right at the start of the game, it means that we have, or right at the start of the tournament, it means we have like pretty robust data on matchup tables and things like that. And like, 23 matches of LeBlanc Azir is not statistically significant enough for us to say, okay, the matchup is definitely in that range lifetime, but it's kind of cool to look at. I think some interesting things to point at, and here I'll pull up the overall metagame data for us to compare against. Um, I'll wait for that to load. Hopefully my stream isn't dying. I have medium internet, by the way, so if there are blips, let me know. Because yeah, I do want to make sure that the stream feels watchable for everyone. So if it is really blippy, um I'll obviously do something to deal with that. So yeah, so we've got, oh yeah, here we go. We've got the overall win rate data here. So a couple of things that jump out right away is that, like, historically in the entire kind of context of the format, LeBlanc has been this deck that's been like relatively maligned by the fact that it has relatively poor matchups into two of the three main decks in the format. And I think it's interesting to note that while that continued at Hartford, in fact, it got worse, right? Like 32 and 37% against Diana and Aurelia are really, really rough matchup tables. The LeBlanc players are clearly starting to figure out the Master Yi matchup in particular, and that's going to be the most represented deck at most tournaments. And I think that is largely correlating to an overall higher win rate amongst LeBlanc players. This is RiftDecks, riftdecks.com. Here, I'll pull it up for you. Wait, probably just easier to duplicate this. Yeah. Oh my, I know why you can't see it. It's because my screen is weird. But yeah, so this is RiftDecks. It's here, I'll put it in the chat. That's how you spell it. Yeah, it's great. They have really good metagame data. It's very interesting to look at. But yeah, so that's one thing that I noticed about this is, like, overall the LeBlanc win rate much higher at this tournament. And actually the day one conversion rate and win rate for LeBlanc was like very good at this event, which I think is pretty interesting to point at. And then another couple of things to note, the Master Yi matchup, or the Master Yi win rate, it is creeping towards scary, in my opinion. Like 58% win rate with 12,000 matches is like starting to get to, like, collar pulling, anxiety inducing ranges. One thing that is really notable about Master Yi is, like, when you look at its matchup tables, it's positive against almost the whole format. And then the only matchups that are close are, like, or not close, but are potentially somewhat negative, are Draven, and then the Aurora decks really beat up on Master Yi. And maybe if this LeBlanc matchup continues trending in the Hartford direction, like this is the Hartford win rate, if that continues trending this way, that I think will create a much more natural triangle for the format, which would be ideal, I think, from my perspective. If Master Yi had one more kind of natural predator in the metagame, that would make it feel a lot better. But overall, pretty cool. And then the one other thing I want to point out is, like, we have a couple of these legends that keep getting registered at, like, really high rates, Ari in particular, but Pyke as well. People love registering Pyke, and I know it made top 8 this tournament, but, like, look at this Master Yi win rate. Like, like, what is that? That means that there are 28 matches at 111%. So, like, Pyke went 2-26 against Master Yi at this tournament. Like, I don't know how, if you're paying attention to this matchup data, I don't know how you can look at this chart and say, you know what, I'm down. Sign me up for an 11% win rate against the best deck in the format, or the most represented deck in the format. And like across the higher sample size, it's marginally better. It's 24%. So like, okay, like it gets a little better, but like this matchup chart is abominable. It's so bad. um which I think is interesting. It does give credence to, well, not credence, but shout out to the person Miru who made top 8 playing Master Yi. The one thing you can say, and this is I think fair, is the second highest represented deck uh um is Diana. That's the second most played deck in the format. And Pike, that is the matchup you're apparently targeting, is Diana. So maybe if you queue into a bunch of Diana, like you're in for a better tournament. But man, if you just hit the Master Yi bracket, you're in trouble. No, Master Yi is pretty low skill ceiling in my opinion, actually. Well, every deck in Riftbound is pretty high skill ceiling. I think that Master Yi is pretty low skill floor, which is part of what's resulting in this really flat matchup table. It's pretty hard to play the deck all that wrong because your gameplay patterns largely center around put unit on battlefield, use powerful green and orange spells to defend that unit. And like, yes, you can make wrong choices about the order in which you do those things or what spells you fight over. But like in general, you're just going to stat check a lot of decks. And as a result, it just makes it pretty hard to play that wrong. But the best Master Yi players are definitely getting more win rate equity than the weaker ones are. But I think that probably the delta between best Master Yi player and worst Master Yi player is smaller than the delta between, say, like best Diana player and worst Diana player, or especially best LeBlanc player and worst LeBlanc player. I think that's a deck that has a higher skill rate delta. Whereas Master Yi, I do think there's definitely high skill expression. Riftbound's a very high skill expression game broadly. But yeah, it's definitely Master Yi is one of the ones where the delta is a bit lower. Uh, I saw a question I haven't answered yet. Sorry, about what fighting games do I play? I am mostly a Street Fighter player. I played a couple of the anime games. Like I played some Guilty Gear, Strive when it came out. I enjoyed that one. I fooled around with like a couple of other like indie fighting games. Like I've played some Skullgirls. I played some Them's Fighting Herds for a little bit. That one was pretty fun. But mostly Street Fighter is the game that I've played the most of. I actually, that stick that's up there is the one that I used for a long time. And funny story about that fighting stick. I traded a collector's edition Mox Sapphire for it in like 2015. Which here I'll make full cam. Yeah, up here, this fighting stick traded a collector's edition Mox Sapphire for it, and that trade is not good. If you're wondering, let's just pull up a little. I'm down to be in pain. Let's just, oh god, it's bad. Yeah, so I traded one of these. It wasn't near mint, but I traded one of these for a fighting stick like 12 or 13 years ago. Um, but honestly, I don't regret it. At the time, I was moving away from Victoria, which is where Canadian Highlander is played, and that's why I had a collector's edition Mock Sapphire, was to like play it in Canadian Highlander. And I thought, well, maybe I'm never going to be able to play the format again. And at the time, I don't know, we're still gathering price data. Yeah, we can't go back far enough, but 10 years ago, this was not $1,000. It was like 100. So I don't know. At the time, it felt like a more equitable trade. But that's not even the fighting stick I use regularly anymore. Let me just here. I'm gonna leave you guys here because my closet is a disaster and no one needs to see that. But give me 2 seconds and I'll grab you my actual fighting stick. Where Was that really loud? I think that was probably really loud, right? I don't know how good my noise gate is. Oh, oh my god. All right. So it's in a bit gnarly condition because this is the one I actually use, but this is my actual fighting stick. I made this one. So this is homemade with like what is the motherboard I have in here? Well, I can't remember the board. But yeah, I built this a couple of years ago because I decided I wanted to play leverless. And so this is my stick now that I use more regularly. It's in kind of grody condition. I probably need to put some linseed oil on it or something to seal it, but yeah, anyway. Fun story. But yeah. So let's finish our thoughts on Riftbound, and then we can move on to talking Yu-Gi-Oh and OCG and all things like that. Yeah, I think it is a Brook one. I just don't remember which one. It would have been a couple of years ago at this point, so could have been a lot of them. Yeah, there's a comment that says surely the new set will demolish the Master Yi win rate. I think that that's actually an interesting conversation to be had. Um, I think that odds are that the Master Yi win rate will get worse if they print cards that can actually just fight with him at the right breakpoints. And I think that that's possible, right? Like if we get another like red orange legend or red green, like the Akali deck looks like it might be able to do so. I think the big thing with Master Yi is it's just that no deck right now in the metagame is able to set up situations where you get to force the Master Yi player to use their resources first. You're like almost always in a position where they get to put you to the test and force you to decide what you're going to do. And that just like results in like these really, really awkward play patterns for most of the rest of the metagame. So like if we look at like this Master Yi that did well, that won the tournament, like the big thing that's like going on here is all of these cards, they're just they're just at 4 and 5 a lot of the time before the combat even starts. And if you look at the rest of the metagame, like there's a reason why people are starting to play more and more of Kha'Zix in particular, of Purple Kha'Zix. That's a card that matches up reasonably well into Master Yi just because of the breakpoints. And you can see like even the Diana decks are starting to register like 1 in the main deck. And I know it's not posted here yet, but I believe Ben White's had more in the sideboard. And the reason is like until they get up to these 3 and 4 drops, at least Kha'Zix can contest these 2 power things that if they get a buff, get up to 5, like it at least beats them in combat without needing to commit any resources, which I think is an important thing. But if we get new cards that fix that problem with Master Yi, like you will naturally end up with players more capable of playing into it. And then the other thing that's missing in the metagame is like a true control deck. Like you saw Bradykin, like this Ezreal player, do quite well. And actually you just saw Ezreal as a whole do pretty well at the tournament. And I think that that's largely in no small part, at least, due to the prevalence of these like Diana and Master Yi decks. And I think even though by win rate data, Ezreal is not favored into Master Yi. No, by win rate data, he's not. But my guess would be that good Ezreal players make up this 5% and that this matchup is at least 50-50, if not slightly positive. And you can look, right, like Ezreal like crushes Diana, which is why you saw it, I think, doing well at the tournament. This is the kind of deck that I think if we got more removal tools, like slightly more powerful removal tools in blue, or maybe like if yellow gets some more powerful tools and like an actual blue yellow control deck becomes playable in the format, I think that would also potentially kick down the win rate of a bunch of these kind of tempo decks. But right now, like Master Yi and Aurelia, these tempo decks that are playing Defy, are just like so challenging to interact with in anything other than combat. And then Master Yi is just so good at fighting in combat that you just end up really stuck, I think. I haven't played any Third Strike. Sorry, I just saw that comment now. I've watched a bunch of Third Strike. I really like, if you've never watched Stay Jam's Will It Kill series, I love Will It Kill. It's so funny. And there's definitely a lot of Third Strike clips in that show. So it definitely looks like a sweet game. But I haven't personally played very much of it. What I'm thinking I'm gonna do, because I asked people what platform they wanted me to stream on, and most people said here, and so I'm gonna stream here, especially for anything card game related. I'm gonna stream here, but YouTube doesn't love when you mixed content types. So what I might do is, if we're doing like a more variety stream, I might move that over to Twitch. I haven't decided yet. If I do, I'll make a post so that people can follow my Twitch. And if I'm playing like fighting games or something that's not trading card game linked, I'll probably move it over to Twitch for the sake of keeping the kind of like algorithm position of this channel a bit more clear for everyone involved. I do think though there's like a pretty strong intersection of card game players and fighting game players, so I'm not that worried about it, to be honest. Like, by show of hands, how many people in chat right now like have played Super Smash Bros. Melee or some other fighting game at some point in their life at a vaguely competitive level, right? Like, there's got to be at least 10 people of the 50 in this chat. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Because Melee's the other one that I played a bunch of, but obviously I didn't play that on a stick. No rollback? What the hell? Yeah, no rollback is like basically unacceptable. Okay, yeah, we're getting the hands. Perfect. I love it. Yeah, no rollback in this day and age is just like so unacceptable, I think. I don't think yeah, okay. See, I knew it. All right. So maybe I can stream fighting games on this channel, and it's not gonna confuse the algorithm too much, because the viewership is gonna be the same. We'll see. We'll figure it out. I am down. I wouldn't mind playing some oh yeah, the tilting because you improve faster is very real. If you watched the video on with my friends where I got them to guess points values of Genesis cards, like, we've been friends for like a decade plus, and we started as Magic players, but we started playing Smash together, like Jer, Trent, and I, around the same time as well. And I like super no lifed like practicing tech skill and everything like that, and then I like went away for a year. I moved out of the city for a year and like played tournaments and was like practicing tech skill till 2 a.m. because I was like 20 for like a year, and then I came back and they were like, well, this isn't really fun to play anymore because I was playing at a much different level. But we still had fun. We still played a bunch. But I'd love to get back into Smash. I haven't played very much in a couple of years at this point. I've been mostly a card game player. And then also like it's crazy how having like a day job will will make it harder to play games. Obviously, for those who are not aware, I do not currently have a day job, which is why we're streaming in the middle of the day. But I am actively looking for one, so this will not be a permanent situation, unfortunately. But I do find that too. Like, when I was younger and I was in school, it just felt like you had like infinite time to play games, and now it's like I have to be like really choosy about the games that I'm spending my time on. Okay, anything else we want to talk about with yeah, getting 3v1, that's a real experience. I am familiar with that one as well. Yeah, I know. That's the same thing with me. Like, I'm gonna go play Riftbound tonight, which I'm very excited about. I'm gonna go play in paper. But like, the tournament starts at 6, and when I was at my last job, I was finishing no earlier than 5:30 ever. And the store is about a half hour drive for me. So it's like, you know, I would basically be like, have my deck ready, run out the door as I like log off work for the day because I work from home, and then get to the store like just barely in time to play. And yeah, it's just like it can be, I think, pretty rough. But I am very excited. I'm playing some Kazakhs tonight. It's the only deck I have in paper right now. I'm definitely gonna acquire more, but I'm trying to divvy up my card game related purchases for a little while into a couple of different games. So I have the Riftbound deck, and now I have to decide like what I'm gonna build. I am gonna build a Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis deck, but that format's moving so quickly that I'm a little bit worried that I'm gonna like buy cards for it, and like by the time they arrive, the points list is gonna have changed too much, which is unfortunate. Oh, someone asked about Darius. Actually, sorry, are you still in chat? I think you are, right? Yeah. Let's talk about Darius really quick, because actually that's probably the last kind of interesting thing to talk about with Riftbound right now. And I didn't talk about it in my data lying video that much, but there are kind of some interesting legends who are low play rate, high win rate. In particular, like Pike is one of these ones that's high play rate, really low win rate, and Ari is the biggest example of high play rate, exceptionally low win rate. And the reason for this is like people really want the RE best of card, and so you see people regging at a really high level just to get that one. I think now you won't be able to get that one anymore. The best of cards are only the last 3 sets, so Ari is no longer going to be best of eligible, and I would be shocked if you didn't see this number of Ari gamers drop by like 50 or 60% once there's no best of to chase. But on the other side of things, there are definitely some legends who don't get played very much, but secretly have decent win rates. Kha'Zix is one of them. This is one of those legends. This is the one that I'm playing. Obviously, the orange-purple core of this deck is just pretty good, and Kha'Zix in particular is really looking to beat up on Aurelia. That's your good matchup of the kind of like top decks that you can play against. Though the deck is also pretty reasonable, as we can see by the data, into a bunch of the other fair decks. This 73% Sivir win rate seems high. This is the Hartford data. Let's just really quickly go look at the at the overall data. That looks crazy high to me. Oh, open in Microsoft Store. I don't want to do that. Okay, so what's the overall data? Yeah, 46%. That seems more real. But yeah, so like overall, Kha'Zix has like some good matchups out of the top decks, some pretty bad matchups. Master Yi and Diana in particular are pretty rough, but in general, I think that the good Kha'Zix players are still getting a decent amount of value out of this deck, and you'll notice that as you go farther down the table, he's very good into most of the other low played decks, like, which to me kind of shows that he's like right on the edge of playability. A lot of this has to do with the card Void Assault, which is Kha'Zix's signature spell. We can pull that up, I guess. That's probably worth looking at. Void Assault here. This is just like a super powerful card that lets you move one of your units and one of your opponent's units, and it like this just blows people out. It's crazy. It's exceptionally powerful. So like this is the reason why Kha'Zix is playable at all. It'll be interesting to see how that progresses. But then some other ones that are really low play rate, high win rate. Annie, I think, is the big signpost for this. I think the secret is out on Annie at this point now. For a long time, the reputation was Prismaticism, you know, is really good at the deck, and so that means that the win rate is inflated. But I think the reality of it is now, like, Annie's just a good deck. Like, if you look at how well the Annie players just placed generally, like, yes, Prismaticism made top 8, but yeah, like 9-4, 9-4, 9, like you have like 6 players at 9-4, a couple other players who made day 2. you know, like what's the worst finish that an Annie player had? Yeah, like you have a couple of people who scrubbed out, but tons and tons of people who got to a nice and high win rates. So Annie's one of the ones that I think is like at this point 3,000 matches, like she's reasonably high play rate, but Secret's kind of out. But then there are these legends that are really low play rate that I think are secretly pretty good in the metagame and just underexplored. Set is one of them, and then Darius is the other one, and we'll talk about Darius now. So with Darius in particular, he's very low down there in play rate. People do not play this legend. But if you look, like, in this sea of red of decks that are unplayable because of their poor matchups into the top metagame strategies, Darius just has a bunch of like 50-50-ish matchups against most of the metagame. This is the overall data for the entire set, by the way. This isn't just Hartford. And then you even have a couple of matchups that seem to be swinging positive. Now, sample size here is something that you would point at as like, this is not statistically significant potentially. And I would say that that's a valid thing to say. But actually the thing I think that is keeping Darius down is one, he's a set 1 legend, I believe. Yeah, he's a set 1 legend that has never really been viewed super positively. And so it's not something that people revisited. And then the other thing that's going on is that he's a red-yellow legend. And that's tricky because you have another powerful red-yellow legend in Rek'Sai that gets played at a much higher play rate, despite, by all evidence, being maybe worse. This is typically what players are reaching for. But overall, I think that if you're someone who's looking to get into the game and you like Darius as a character, this is certainly a deck that is like eminently playable in the metagame. Like, this is the best of list from Hartford. They went 10-2, 10-3, I believe. So they missed out on top 8 by a fair amount, but this is a strong finish. And the deck is just like an aggro deck, really gets in there. You're using Kaisa. Oh yeah, we were talking about prices earlier. This is another one of the really egregious ones. You can see Kaisa is at, you know, $65 currently, and it was all the way up to 100. That's the promo version. This is the regular. The regular is only 59, but it was also way up there. But yeah, I think that overall it's another one of those decks that's just like very playable. But a lot of what's going on, I think, with Riftbound 2 is like, because there's a lot of like identity. I don't want to say like politics, that's not the right word, but there's a lot of like identity to playing Riftbound. A lot of people are coming to this game from the League of Legends IP with a pre-attached affinity for certain characters over potentially playstyle or archetypes. And so you're seeing underrepresentation of maybe like less popular characters and maybe overrepresentation of more popular characters for exactly that reason. And it's kind of interesting because it's the first metagame that I've really engaged with where like it's mostly being determined at the kind of mid-level by like vibes, like more than anything else. Like, obviously like these top win rate decks, like people have centered in on, I would say like these kind of top 5 or 6 decks. I think these 6 are pretty agreed upon by most players as this is the top meta strategies. But then kind of once you get below Sivir, like what you choose to play from like the 7th deck down to like the 20th deck, like probably mostly just depends on what you like. This matrix is sorted by match total. If you want to sort by win rate, this is win rate. If you sort by win rate, you end up with Annie way up there, Darius way up there as well. But the reason why I think they tend to sort by number of matches first is like you can look, Darius has a 53% win rate, but it's like literally with a 1/10 of the number of matches as Master Yi has. That's okay, Spear. We're chatting for a while today. I'm gonna be on for another hour at least. So no worries. And I'm gonna try and do more streams broadly. So yeah, if you're enjoying, let me know. Because I did one stream like on a weekend, like a month ago, and I had a good time. I'm also going to try and play some games too. I just figured today we'd do this because I was sort of debating, oh, do I want to make a video about Hartford? Do I want to make a video about the OCG ban list? And then I said, well, maybe I'll just do a stream and then maybe we'll clip some of this and put it on the main channel as well, depending on how it turns out. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at for Hartford. It was a cool tournament, very exciting. I think that the uh, revelation of a couple of combo decks in the format is interesting. I think that Master Yi winning is a kick in the face to my analysis of the fact that it's the one top deck that can't seem to convert, because then it converted in a Western RQ. So I'm an idiot, clearly. And then I guess the one other thing that you would maybe want to talk about with regards to this is that this is the last RQ for Unleashed. So this metagame, I mean, it's not fully over, but we now get to wait for the next set to come out before there are any really big tournaments. I will be pretty curious, because this downtime is typically where you would want to make balance changes. I will be curious to see whether the Lux Lady of Luminosity combo deck lasts through a ban list. I think that tagging Forge of the Future is pretty low cost, and that this deck is not doing stuff that you want in the format these days. I don't think that this is really what you're hoping to have be be the main focus of your game. Someone asked a little while ago, because my most popular video on the channel is about like the long-term outlook for a bunch of the new TCGs. That video hit 100K views yesterday, by the way, kind of insane. I probably will do a part 2, because there's like so many comments on that video that are like, what about this game? What about Gundam? What about Lorcana? So I'll have to do, and Digimon I missed as well. So I'll probably have to do a part 2 of that video. But someone asked if my outlook on Riftbound has changed at all. I will say I've been talking with some friends about Riftbound recently, and I gotta say, I do think that if you're looking at decks that might eventually secede one of the big three, Riftbound is definitely one I would be looking at. And in particular, I think the game that Riftbound would potentially take over for is Magic. I think the competitive Magic scene recently has been really maligned, and the release cycle of that game has been rough, to say the least, for playing the game at a competitive level. And you are seeing a lot of Magic players jump ship to other games, and you've seen a lot of high-level Magic players jump ship to Riftbound entirely. Like, they are not playing Magic at all, and they're playing Riftbound as their only game. So if they continue with these kinds of turnouts, and like this tournament could have had 3,000 people if the logistics supported it having 3,000 people. So like, obviously the demand to play the game is there. The IP is crazy powerful. And just anecdotally, let me pull these up. I was looking at this because at the same time as RQ Hartford was happening, there was obviously Italian Nationals happening for Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm curious as to which event got better views. So we go to Hartford, and then we go to Italian Nationals for Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah. So like, pretty interesting, if I do say so myself. So like, here are the view counts for Italian Nationals, like 70K for day 2, 55K for day 1. Obviously the split had the stream had to be broken up into multiple events. And then if you look at Riftbound, like, the numbers are really comparable for viewership, and getting people to watch your competitive card game is by far the hardest thing to do. It's a well litigated issue on YouTube, the kind of unwatchability of card games. And I think that Riftbound, by virtue of the fact that the like look at this screen, the screen layout. Oh, well, we're just watching people play top 8 matches. Like, if you look at the way that this is laid out, You have really clear delineation of information. Yes, these battlefields are like these cards are a little hard to read, but they've got a card viewer popped up here. You've got the commentators pretty clearly communicating what is going on in the matches. And it's just like in general, like this is more watchable, I think, than Magic. Yu-Gi-Oh is its own beast because like even if you could like reading the cards is just like not an approachable thing to do in Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't think you can ask people to read the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Oh, we're spinning a wheel. It's a DZ video all of a sudden. Like obviously this is a bit more rough. You still have the same bones here of card highlighter, but like this is really hard to read personally. Oh, and you guys can't even see it because of the way that I have the web browser set up. Hold on. Sorry, team. There we go. You guys can see a little better. But like, you know, card reader is here, but it's hard to read. And you kind of compare that to this look where card reader, you got your legends, you know, it's not a whole lot different, I will say, honestly, but it's at least simpler to parse. And you're clearly seeing that reflected in the numbers of people who are tuning in to watch. Riftbound's very young, and you're still getting comparable numbers to something like Italian Nationals, which is, you know, obviously Yu-Gi-Oh is really well entrenched, and the community is really passionate about watching tournaments. I will say this is something that I've noticed as someone coming over from Magic to playing Yu-Gi-Oh is that Yu-Gi-Oh players love watching Yu-Gi-Oh, which is awesome. That's very good for the game in the long term. But yeah, it's definitely I think interesting that the viewer numbers are comparable. I saw another question and I kind of was just firing it off. Oh, hey Lord Revan, how's it going? How's it going, Curtis? Uh um for the uninformed, yeah, for the uninformed, what does red yellow usually contain? That's a great question. I can answer that one. So red yellow is like the aggro colors in Riftbound, I would say. Well, red is the aggro color. The basic game plan of these decks varies a little bit based on what your legend is trying to do, but you're trying to get onto the battlefields early with some of the more efficient assault red and yellow cards. So like Daring Poro and Inferna are very good at attacking. And then you also in red yellow are almost always going to be leading on this card. No, what the Noxus Hopeful, which when you cast 2 cards in the same turn, you get to play this for 2. And so a 4 might 2 cost unit is like really, really efficient. And so typically these decks are jumping out to an early lead, and then they're using the quality yellow and red removal to clear out really big threats. Call the Weak is like a sacrifice effect, so you can typically set things up where you get their big thing and you throw away like something tiny that doesn't really matter. Yeah, and then you're looking to end the game early. The exact flavor of yellow red varies a little bit legend to legend. So this is Rek'Sai Breacher. This one is a bit more grindy, and you have the ability to do some fun stuff with his signature spell Void Rush, which lets you reveal cards from the top of your deck, and then you cast one of them and you draw the other one. And then his ability is whenever you conquer, so when you take a battlefield, you exhaust and you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck and play one. So it's a way to kind of like get some additional value and not fully draw cards, but kind of get access to more cards quickly. Sorry, I went on a whole tangent and I didn't end up reading chat very well. You think Echo will be hit? Yeah, I could see Echo being hit as the ban as well for the Lux deck. I think because Echo is going to be a legend in the next set, I think that they would maybe try something other than that first, and then if it doesn't work, come back for Echo. I could see them doing that too. Do you agree on Flesh and Blood being extremely overrated? I don't think it's overrated. I think that Flesh and Blood is a cool game. I think that there are definite issues with Flesh and Blood. In particular, the price point for the game is a real barrier. They're clearly trying to fix that problem with Silver Age, which I think is good. But a lot of the mechanics in Flesh and Blood are very interesting and unique, and they're doing cool things, which I think is sweet. No, I don't think it's overrated. I will say, because I interface with a lot of different trading card game communities by virtue of the channel, And in terms of like the ferventness, devotion to the card game, I would say the Flesh and Blood players are up there in terms of being the most like stalwart representatives of their game. They definitely feel very strongly about their game, but I don't think that means it's overrated. I just think it means that there's people who are passionate about it, which is great. Um, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh matches are unwatchable if you don't know what the cards do. That's true. And if you don't know the lines, it's hard to oh yeah, Rek'Sai is female per the Lord. My bad, my bad. That's right, she. Um yeah, if you don't know how things work in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's basically unwatchable. I agree that's definitely true. And like even if you kind of know what's going on, like, you know, I'm I don't know that I quite yet reached the threshold of counting as uh enfranchised Yu-Gi-Oh player, but I'm definitely a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Like I definitely play the game now. And like this Azamina deck, I couldn't tell you how the lines work. I couldn't. I know vaguely what some of the what the boss monsters do, and I know what many of the spells are. Like I can tell you that, but I wouldn't be able to give you like a really clear idea of all the lines or anything like that for sure. Um yeah. The commentators don't get deck lists, so they can't make any informed commentary. Yeah, I think that's fair as well. And I think in general, card game commentary is tough. It's pretty challenging to be really engaged in a commentary. Here, you want to see, speaking of card game commentary, I've done a bit. Uh you want to see, this is gonna be a flashbang for people because this is an old video, but let's see, how far back do we have to go? This one me, 2017? Yeah, I think this is me. I think I'm in this. But yeah, commentating tough. It's really challenging, I think, in general, to be able to speak about what's going on in a game and kind of fill downtime, especially like a lot of the time when a player is thinking and they're in the tank, and like there's only so many things that you can talk about them potentially iterating through, because a lot of the times like they know what the two lines are in their head. They're just deciding which line to do, and so you can only spend so long saying, "Oh yeah, here's the line that they're thinking about." All right. Obviously neither of these two people are me. Uh but boom. And this is atrocious. This is so, this hair, what am I doing with this haircut? What is this shirt? What is this jacket? Here, I'll unmute the sound. You can hear. Uh, um, yeah, just overall, looking back at this is rough. This is not a great look. Oh, I think the viewer count just plummeted from me putting this on. um, yeah, but anyway, commentating, it's not easy. Uh, I really enjoyed doing it. I will say, like, I would love to do more commentary, if possible. I know that there's like an online Riftbound series or something. I might reach out to them and see. All right, let's get this off the screen. No one needs to look at this. But yeah, I do have some commentary experience, and it's definitely not easy to do. It's not the easiest to talk for that long about game state. And especially I think that there's another element of it going on as well, where unless you're like a really advanced player, uh you are not necessarily going to be able to provide like nuanced context for the decisions that players are making that goes deep enough, because a lot of the times people are thinking like 3 turns ahead, and it's tough to communicate how long the thought processes are going. uh yeah, the beard. Okay, so I started growing the beard, I mean, off and on, basically, like throughout my 20s. And then when COVID hit, I stopped going to a barber with any regularity, obviously, which is when I grew out my hair and when I grew out my beard. And now I have a guy again. The last couple of years, I have someone who cuts my beard, which is why it doesn't look like a disaster all the time. But I would say probably 3 or 4 years to get it to be like reasonable. I had a really hard time getting it actually to not be horrific looking. Um, I do think the rise of these new kind of 1v1 training card games has put some pressure on the 1v1 Magic population. Like there are uh those games are bleeding players, I think. Because the trust isn't there for Magic anymore. I think that players really dis have like a disinterest in engaging with the release cycle in particular that Magic is doing. Like the fact that we now have 8 sets going direct to standard annually is insane. I don't know how you would ever keep up with it. Like I remember 10 years ago, 4 sets a year felt like a lot to keep up with for standard. I don't know how you would ever do 8. And then things like modern and legacy, I think the stewardship of those formats has not been especially good. In particular, something like the legacy format, like it just has not been super well stewarded. And so as a result, like you've just ended up in this situation where I think you are starting to bleed players either to other games or to non-WotC sanctioned formats. Like I think there's a reason why pre-modern has risen up to be so popular and why Commander is so popular. And I think that there's 2 elements at play. One of them is the fact that, you know, Commander is a board game and it's way more accessible for players. But also the other half of it is the fact that it's way more bearable to buy a commander deck and not make any changes to it for a year. You know, you just don't need to. So yeah, the best TCG coverage when they followed Reed Duke through one tournament, that was very good. I agree. That was cool. And like the old SCG Magic coverage was very good. They did it better than Wizards was doing it for years. Wizards has finally caught up, I think. But like the golden age of uh of Magic coverage has like come and gone, I think. And there's not the same engagement with like pro players and following who the pro players are than there was before. Like in the 2010s, a lot of Magic's content was centered around the players who played at the highest level. And I think now a lot of Magic's content and the way that the game is kind of like marketed is through content creators and the biggest content creators, right? So you've seen this transition where like the most important people in the space have gone from being like Luis Scott Vargas or Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa, to being like the people from game nights. Like there's a reason that Brian Kibler started a Commander YouTube channel, you know, like these are all, this is a kind of natural progression. All right. Hello, Mabel. Yes. Hi. Come on up. Come on up. Ugh. Everyone say hi to Mabel. She's she's lost a pound in the last 6 months. Very exciting for her. Uh, yeah, I agree. I agree that Cedric Phillips and Patrick Sullivan are really good commentator duo for sure. Um, oh, an aircraft question. That's awesome. So I would love to play more in aircraft, if especially if you're telling me it's good against Draco Tail, then I gotta craft that on Master Duel immediately. I think we'll talk about it a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'll answer it here, but I'm gonna make a video about it. I've decided because I think both the like an aircraft archetype, which obviously has been out for a while, but is now on Master Duel now, and the new chess archetype are like so cool and are just like I think really emblematic of the really like interesting design space that Yu-Gi-Oh still has to explore. I know the I know there's been like some amount of frustration with the aircraft archetype in particular. Like I know the fact that the big one, like Book of Mooning all your things, is a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. It's not good? No. Okay, well then maybe I won't play it. I haven't played that much Master Duel since the branded selection pack came out. Unsurprisingly, if you know anything about my proclivities. Some of my favorite board games right now. I think Wingspan is maybe my all-time favorite that I still play all the time. Um, Power Grid is great. I like Power Grid a lot. Um, in terms of like, there are obviously different scales. I really like Patchwork as like a two-player board game. That one's one of my favorites. That's in the background somewhere, I think. Yeah, there's two copies of it just to my left. Um, I like Twilight Imperium. I've played a bunch of online Twilight Imperium. That game's very fun. Um, when it gets like really competitive, it can be a bit awkward because like competitive multiplayer games are a mess. Uh, and it's pretty challenging to balance them appropriately. But yeah, I think those are some of my favorites right now. Loses hard to Radiant Typhoon. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I guess all of the MSTs seem pretty good into the Pendulum deck. Um, do do do. Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. That if you ban Forge, the Jin deck can still go infinite with Vi. I think that's fine though. I talked about it a bit earlier on in the stream. Um, I don't mind this Jin deck as a combo deck because the win condition isn't make infinite resources. The win condition involves Gutter Palace. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this does go infinite in a way that I don't see. But because the Vi is in the sideboard, I imagine they're not actually going full infinite in game one, at least. I know they can. Obviously, it'll clearly get there somehow. Oh, I really like Star Realms actually. Star Realms is one of my favorite, and Dominion as well. I think there's probably an audience for those kinds of videos. I don't know if they're necessarily trading card games players though. They're more board gamers. Oh my God, Mabel, you are just so affectionate. Mabel is 13. We adopted her as a 13-year-old, so we've only had her for a year. It's gonna be like a year and in a month that we've had her. We actually we don't know what happened to her previous owner, but she was like found as a stray, and you can kind of see her ear. She has a little clip on her ear, so they thought she might be like a colony cat or like she got into a fight with someone. Although I can't imagine this cat getting into a fight given how affectionate she is, but maybe. Um, but yeah, I she appeared in like one of my very first videos, and she was very chubs, and we are trying to help her lose some weight. Okay, I feel like we've talked enough about Riftbound. Let's move on to the OCG Banlist React. I'm just gonna edit my stream title really quick. Oh yeah, Mabel. That's great. Yeah. Just jam your head right into my hair. That's the spot where you should be. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Updating the stream. Oh god, what did I do? Oh my god. Oh, it's all going so bad. Okay, hold on. Pro streamer, by the way, clearly. I'm so good at this streaming thing. Mabel, you are gonna choke yourself on my hair. Holy crap. Okay, you going? You heading out? All right, perfect. That's great. I would love my arms back. Um, intense cat holding action. Yeah, it is. It is. Ow. Oh God, Mabel, don't bite me. Come on. Come on, Mabel, don't bite me. That's not necessary. Um. hmm. Okay, so this is my first time seeing the OCG list. Let me pull everything up. All right, Mabel, where are you going? All right, so is this okay? This has an accurate representation of the list. I know Like one thing I found really weird about Yu-Gi-Oh is like the way that they communicate information is like not good. I guess is probably the way that I would say it. Like it doesn't seem like it's the most effective communication channel in the world. Um Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm very curious to know, but but yeah, I think that this is pretty interesting. Actually, give me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna go grab a bottle of water. I'll go grab some water. And besides the TCG Genesis blog, they don't tell us anything. Well, that's not ideal. And I'm gonna test something. I'm gonna try to run an ad, but don't. Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, okay. I think we're back. I think everyone is back. Should be back, right? I don't know. I'm honestly just trying some things out here. Uh, Trying to figure out what is going on. Send thumbs up for 10 joules. What is that? Wait, did I miss something from someone? Oh no, now I feel bad. Oh my god. Now people spam refresh the Twitter page instead. I see. Okay. Everyone back? Everyone can hear me? We're vibing. We'll do a fun and exciting OCG ban list. Okay, so I guess before we start this, I need some context from the chat. This is part of why I wanted to do this live. What's good in the OCG right now? Like what are people playing? Toon? Oh yeah, which is OTK, right? Like Toon is an OTK deck. All right, let's see. 512 players. This seems reasonable. China mainland qualifying regional. What's going on here? Toon, Cool Toon, Orchist. Oh my goodness, excuse me. Elf Note. So what do these Toon decks look like? Various flavors of FTK. The new Yugi deck. Okay, okay. So how does this Toon, is this FTK, the one I'm looking at here? Oh. Oh well, I've just been spoiled, I think. I did know about this. I saw it in the thumbnail of I think it was Josh's reaction, so I suspected it was banned, but I thought maybe there was a chance it was getting semi-limited instead. Well, that's a bummer. That's a big spoiler. Okay, so this is just playing Toon on the fair. Okay, okay. Makes sense, makes sense. It's like a 20-step combo. Oh, I like 20-step combos. I'm amenable. Giving your opponents man. Oh, okay, okay. So it's got some gimmick puppet vibes to it then. I mean, I'm amenable. That sounds good to me. But I know that FTKs are not exactly well loved. Okay. Yeah. What else do we have? Tune, Horus Orchest. That's cool. Cool tune, cool tune. Branded. Lunalite. Road of the King is the best website. Oh, okay. That was the top one. Hold on. We'll just go back here. Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Okay, okay. Metagame report from 5 days ago. This seems great. Okay, okay. So tune, cool tune, some elf note. This light and darkness ritual deck, this is coming out in Chaos Origins, right? This is the thing that we're getting in Chaos Origins. I'm like relatively behind on paper metagames because I just don't play paper. I only play on Master Duel, really. Okay, cool. I know Blitzclick is also, or Blitzclick is also a Chaos Origins archetype. Very cool. Oh my god. Oh, nice. So it has the whole loop here. Wow. Can we just talk about the fact that like trying to teach a new player how to play Yu-Gi-Oh and then saying it's elementary, really? When you open on Funny Dark Rabbit, simply execute this 56-step combo, and then on your opponent's turn, do more things. Like what's going on? Come here, champion. There you are. Come here. Oh, Light and Darkness Ritual sounds tight then. That sounds like an archetype that I would be interested in playing. Okay, cool. So in general, though, it seems like the metagame is Tune, Cool Tune, Elf Note, Light and Darkness Ritual. And here's what I do know about the OCG. I know the ban list is often mocked for its different approach. So I know that they have like Ash at 2, they have Droll and Lockbird at 1. I know that Max C is playable at 1 still. Right? That's still correct that they have Max C at 1. That's not gone yet. Yeah, Max C at 1. Okay. Okay, cool. And yes, they have like stuff like Impulse at 2. So like they have a very like different philosophy to what happens in the TCG and to an extent what happens on Master Duel, right? Hold on, there's a cat trying to climb up. Come here. Champion, come here. Come on. My love, come. Okay, well, yeah, he's just staring at me. Yeah, they just banned Called by the Grave. I know. I saw when I was looking at Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck lists. The support is super in line with the anime. I mean, that makes sense. I do get that. Obviously, like it's the main tie-in for the game. Yeah, I had people when I was in the last video I just posted about like combo decks and like the general kind of archetypes in trading card games. I had someone argue that like beatdown is basically what Yu-Gi-Oh's version of aggro would be, and I think that makes sense. I think that's pretty interesting. Okay, let's read this ban list. Some of these you can tell me pretty quickly whether these are like whatever changes. Like Sprite Blue from 2 to 3. This feels like a bit of a nothing burger. Tearlaments also, like this Tearlaments Rhino hard change. Feels like a bit of a nothing burger. Like they're like undoing a consistency hit for a deck that is no longer playable, right? Like we can agree that these are all pretty whatever. Okay, the unlimits are all whatever. Okay, that makes sense. Banish your opponent's entire hand. If they do, they draw the same. Huh? This card's sick. Huh. Interesting. Can someone explain to me what Trickstar Reincarnation was doing? Like, why was this limited for consistency? Like what was the Trickstar archetype was doing? Because I know Trickstar has like Light Stage, and there's like some stuff where you end up like burning your opponent. Oh, you would droll people. Ah, nice. All right, never mind. Boring. I thought it was going to be more interesting than that. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Not ideal then. Pretty suboptimal suboptimal gameplay experience for all parties involved, I guess we could say. Um Champion, do you want to come react to the OCG ban list, or are you just gonna sit next to me trying to claw my leg? What's the plan? I don't know if you all can hear him. He's screaming. Uh yeah, I'm not surprised though. Like I guess like especially because Droll was at 2 for a long time, and I do understand that like having this in the game like is pretty miserable. Okay, let's talk about the semi limits then. If all the unlimits are like pretty whatever. Okay, so Math Mix Circular 2, um, that seems like it matters to me. Like this card is generic enough that I feel like there are some like maybe some engines that could want this. Obviously, right now, it does not look like there's anything that like particularly cares. I mean, you still have Malice and a small play rate. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Interesting. Perfecton Tron Hydrodrive Dragon. If this card was link summoned or at the end of the damage step, if this card battle destroys many monsters your opponent controls. Okay, so this is an FTK card. You get to like this is the thing that the Toon decks are donate. You're like donating your opponent a bunch of stuff, and then you're making this dragon, and then you're burning them for how do you okay, so it's max what? Like the first one can be max 3600, the second one can be max 3900, and then by banning the third one you make it so that you can never truly FTK with this without other damage. While face up on the field. Oh my god. Unaffected by monsters that share an attribute with this. What is this garbage? What the hell? Is this card legal in the TCG? Yeah, and then you use it to make another copy. That makes sense. So it just it loops into itself. Yeah. Not right now. Yeah, okay. I figured. This does not seem like a thing that is going to last super long. Okay, Cool Tune Synchro from 3 to 2. That makes sense. Change that I would love to see in all formats, honestly. Solemn Warning from 3 to 2. That's kind of interesting. So what? The issue with Solemn in the OCG, they just don't like how high rolly this feels when you have it going first. Like it's like too good as a negate for one card starters. Is that oh, my cat is on top of my computer dropping things into the fan. I'm gonna have to compressed air it out after this. Buy the new Solemn hit. Oh, I see. I have noticed that the OCG loves semi limits, and I think I've kind of gone on this. When I was talking with Farfa, I talked about how I thought that semi limits were weird, but we didn't have enough time to really like fully unpack what I meant by that, because we got on to talking about Draco Tail. But I think that from a design standpoint, the decision to semi-limit things like for consistency's sake, it just feels like kind of I feel like it's just kind of not worth the squeeze. Like limiting makes sense, and sometimes I guess semi-limits kind of make sense. Like this semi-limit where this card at 3 can OTK and at 2 it can't, is an argument for having semi-limits as a tool, I guess, because it's like, okay, well, why limit this when it doesn't have to go to 1, it could go to 2. But I guess what I would argue is like, well, why, like how much worse is this card at 2 versus 1? Like if it can't OTK at 2, are you going to play any of them? Or, you know, would it make a difference if this was limited or not? The first hit to rise yield, they like to semi-limit as like a warning shot. Yeah, and I get why they're saying, like, I get why that's the approach that they would take, because it is in some ways a good way to maintain some amount of consumer trust, right? Where like when you ban people's cards, you are potentially like really putting some people out. Like I remember when I was playing Modern and they banned Splinter Twin, and I like basically quit Magic when that happened, because they like banned my favorite deck, and like the deck did not need to just be fully banned. Like it really didn't. And so I understand um wanting to be able to maintain some amount of trust with players. But to me, the semi limits for main deck monsters, especially, main deck cards seem really weird. I think the extra deck, it makes a lot of sense. Like I know there was like a lot of memeing about um, the limits to like the yummy monsters and the limits to Arthalion from 3 to 2, and people were like, oh, it's the third Arthalion that gets you. But it's like, okay, but in like a really long game, like it is the third Arthalion that gets you. So like I get it, you know, like I do get it. I can understand why you would potentially reach for something like that. Okay. Oh, you know what? Hold on. While we're here and while we have a chat, um, why don't we? Is this better? We like seeing some context. I feel like if anyone's ever watching this back, it might be nice for them to know what's going on in the chat. Okay. Sorry, I really good streamer here. Super high level stuff. They also love to go step by step. If a card is problematic, they limit it, and then if a card is coming off the ban list, yeah. So I don't mind limit. It's semi limit that I find a bit confounding at times, and I think the reason why is that just limiting the consistency on something, at least for me, it would honestly, like, more often than not, it just tilts me when my opponent draws the semi-limited card. Like, I started playing Master Duel when Maxi was at 2, and like it being at 2, sure, it meant that like it happened less often, but like it just meant that when they had it, you were like, oh, they drew the 2 of instead of it being a 3 of that they put in their deck. And so like I guess from my perspective, like I don't mind 3 to 1 as much as I do the semi limits. I just find the semi limits so weird. Oh yeah, this is the other thing that Yu-Gi-Oh does that's interesting. So newly limited Elder Entity Norden. So this is an older card, I guess, that's coming off the list now with an errata, which is cool. Yeah, they draw the 1 of. I mean, drawing the 1 of is also frustrating, but I think the argument for having it at 1 instead of 2 is I don't mind the notion of this card is not powerful enough to be fully banned, but we want it to either be something you have to tutor for or something that you are not raw drawing that often. I mind that less, but I will say that's definitely more frustrating with non-engine. Like your opponent just raw drawing the 1 maxi feels terrible, but like limiting like a starter and saying like, oh yeah, you can only have 1 of like the various Malice starters. That at least means that like contextually when you're playing against Malice, when they start on 1 of the 1-ofs, like 1 of the limited cards, it at least gives you like some context about like what's going on in the texture of their hand in a way that's meaningful. Whereas like when they just draw the 1-of maxi, it's like, oh my God. Yeah, so let's talk about this one. This is interesting. So the errata is that it has to be summoned from the extra deck to get the effect, which seems good. I imagine, was this causing issues where it was loopable? Or was it just an issue where like you would summon this? Oh, it's a very good super poly target. That makes sense too. Yeah. Yeah. So what was the issue with this card? Why did it get banned? Was it because it wasn't a once per turn, so it was loopable? Very curious. Zodiac. Okay. Okay. I have to learn some Zodiac lines because now that uh now that it's playable in Master Duel again, I have to put it in Moonlight. Um oh, I see. You would draw a bunch. Yeah, okay, okay. Makes sense. Instant fusion. And they don't want you to be able to cheat it out. Yeah, this all makes sense. Oh, used to be a way to try to cheat them out for free. Okay. Well, I mean, this is, I think, a very reasonable errata. The one thing that is obviously awkward about errataing is like your card no longer does what's written on the card. But I think that in Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially, like the text on these cards is so verbose anyway that you could be forgiven for just expecting to be to ask to look up what uh to look up what every card does. Like it's not the worst thing in the world. Um what's going on here? Okay, well, stuff is loading slowly. I'll go do one where I know what the card does. So Solemn Judgment 2-1. I imagine. Oh, there we go. Solemn Judgment. Oh my god. Let's close some stuff. Maybe it's an issue with my computer being a little slow. Close this Riftbound stuff. Get it out of here. Riftdex does have a bit of a tendency to hang. How much memory is this tab using though? For those who aren't aware, Master Duel Meta does have a memory leak. Uh, uh, that I discovered when when I when I started using it. I left it open for like way too long, and yeah, it does in fact just leak. So in case you've ever been confused as to why your computer seems slow and you have a bunch of Master Duel Meta tabs open. Sorry, I'm just gonna set this up while we're here. Okay, back to the web browser. Okay, so Mindmaster updated text. You can pay 800 and tribute one psychic monster, and they removed except Mindmaster. Summon one, special summon one 4 or lower psychic monster from your deck in face-up attack position. And they added a hard once per turn. Okay, so it's like a buff and a nerf at the same time. Yeah, slapping hard once per turn on old cards is fine. Yeah, like it's better than completely errating the card to just do something fundamentally different. That makes sense. I can see that. So like with this one, I imagine this is also like this is just like an e-telly basically, right? Like it's just a good or it's not even that, right? It's like a slightly better, but it's just another starter. Oh, you used to cheat the life point cost and then get infinite summons. Well, that seems way too good. Yeah, so the solemn judgment limit, this is very clearly just like we want you to play um the new solemns as well. I think I can see that. I would also not mind more solemn limits in general. Again though, like I think that these cards, because they are I don't know that you want to be in a position where you're basically trying to hard draw um the one of solemn. Like I guess, are there decks that are searching for this, or is this completely unsearchable? To my knowledge, it's basically unsearchable, right? Like, can Labyrinth search for this? It's a counter trap. There's one ban on here that I hate. I have a suspicion I know which one it is. I think there's a very contentious one. Cool Tune Rotary going from 3-1. I would guess that this is it's unsearchable. Okay, cool. I would guess that this is a precursor to what's going to happen in the TCG2 eventually. This card is just like doing things that I think that in general the Yu-Gi-Oh player base is not super interested in engaging with. In particular, like look at your opponent's hand in a game with no mulligans, low draw, and where the games are so fast, is just like really not it, I think. Oh, we're three cats so far on stream today. Um and so yeah, I'm not surprised at all to see this get limited. I think that obviously where it's limited, like you're still going to get access to it. I don't think they like fully banning names, and so my bet is that this won't get banned unless it starts to become like really degenerate. But I would guess that what they'll do with Cool Tune is just slowly try to hit the consistency in the deck to the point where it's not worth including anymore. It's worth noting, I think, that Rotary is a card that people have started including in non-Cool Tune decks as well. Like, I know you can play it in like the Blue Eyes engine as just like a thing that you search for, and then when you use it as synchro material, like you're just still getting the value of looking at your opponent's hand. Yeah, opening Rotary exactly is just like so much better than tutoring for it. And so I think that like this is fine, and it's a pretty reasonable consistency hit. I would be pretty shocked if we don't see something like kind of comparable in the TCG and on Master Duel like relatively quickly. Obviously, Cool Tune released, and you know, it's interesting. I've heard some pro players say that they really like Cool Tune because once you look at your opponent's hand, like you just have to solve a puzzle. And like I do think that that is kind of like, I don't want to say like rude, but like at a certain point, like just go play a single player video game, like go play Slay the Spire or something. Because like I want to have it be a game where there's like a back and forth and hidden information. And if it's just a situation where like you have all the information and I don't, well, like, why are we playing? Like, what are we doing? So I really don't like that opinion. I think it's Josh who said it, who said that he thought it was cool. That, you know, it creates a puzzle for the Cool Tune player to solve, to figure out how to win. It's like, okay, but like at a certain point, then you might as well not have an opponent if that's what you want out of your Yu-Gi-Oh game. In my opinion, at least, like there's got to at least be some mystery, you know. You can't just have it be a situation where one person has all the information and the other person has none. But it's weird because that's not even like, it's not even a combo player thing, right? Like if you are, well, like I guess this is the definition of combo, right? But if you are like playing a combo deck in Yu-Gi-Oh, at least, you're typically trying to find a way to sequence through potential interaction to build the best board possible. And I think aspirationally, the way the combo deck should be designed in Yu-Gi-Oh is that they should have high ceiling potential at the expense of choke points, right? Like you should be playing, I think that they should be setting up the combo decks in a way where there are a number of different iterations that you have to go through before you actually get to some kind of powerful end board. And I think it's okay to let that end board be really big, so long as there are a decent number of ways to interact along the way. The one problem with this, obviously, is that it does sort of infer that you would want hand traps to be the most prominent form of interaction in the game. And I know that there's a non-zero subset of players who don't view that as a positive metagame state, who would rather there be as few hand traps as possible, and that it be a matter of engine playing into engine. And I just think that it's a situation where like cards like this, like Rotary, are a really good example of like why I don't know that you can just always do that, because if they're going to print things that let you look at your opponent's hand, and this isn't even the only look at your opponent's hand card that's been printed recently, by the way, like the RB archetype, though bad, also looks at your opponent's hand as part of its combo. It's just like, that deck isn't nearly as strong, but like, like that deck hand attacks you. Like that deck takes one of your monsters and usually blows it up. And so like, I do think that like, there's gotta be some give and take given. And I will say, like, I don't think that this kind of hand looking stuff is good. I think that this is the kind of thing that I would like to get rid of. And I think that in general, the combo decks, I'm fine with them having high ceilings, but I think that, yeah, we just need to lower some other elements a bit. Okay, next, Supreme King Dragon Starving Venom. This sounds like an FTK card to me. I haven't read it yet. It must be either fusion summoned or special summoned by tributing the above cards to Dark Pendulum monsters. Tunes, right? Once per turn, target one other monster on the field or in the graveyard until the end phase. This card's name becomes, oh my, what? Huh. This is an FTK card, right? What do you FTK with? You copy a burn effect. Okay. Yep. Makes sense. Independent Nightingale. Oh, it's a Lyralisk card. Discard gains. Da, 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 da. I see. So this just like does like 8K or whatever, or 4K, because this is a level 8. Nice. Nice. Cool. Cool. Okay, cool. Well, that makes sense then. Trying to get some of the FTKs under control. Synchro Overtake. This is also just like another cool tune hit. I think this makes sense. Okay, we see one of the big ones. Yeah, so obviously they're just in general trying to limit the overall efficacy of Cool Tune. It's not even the most popular deck, which is interesting, but I guess they're also making a bunch of changes to Tune as well. So they're clearly trying to target these two decks to get them more in line. So I know in the TCG, this kind of metagame share, I think would be fine. I don't think anyone in the TCG would complain if this is what the metagame share looked like. In OCG, do they care? Like, is this bad? Would this be considered an unhealthy metagame? Or, or would this be like, is this fine? And they're just making tweets. They're just making fixes to it. It's still probably better than Tune overall, but Tune's more popular. Okay. Okay, interesting. And yeah, I mean, I can totally understand. Like, if a substantial portion of um, the Tune decks that people are playing are like FTK decks, I can totally understand why we would maybe want to limit the number of those that are being played. Their YCS is one. Oh, best of one. Jesus. That's interesting too. Not to get back onto Riftbound talk, because that's where we started, but a lot of the Chinese Riftbound events are best of one as well. And so it makes the metagame data for those really weird to read. And unlike in Yu-Gi-Oh, like China gets Riftbound sets a little bit earlier right now, but they're working to harmonize it a lot faster. And so it's going to get to the point where we're going to be getting the sets at the same time. And I think it's going to be really weird to look at like data from China versus data from the rest of the world where we play best of three. Um, okay, so they banned Called by the Grave. So I know that this is uh, a change that people have wanted for other formats as well. So what the implications for the Called by change are obviously this is a big buff to hand trap effects. It's a huge change in favor of especially the Charmies in particular. What's interesting, I guess, is because the OCG mostly plays best of one, I kind of feel like the opportunity cost of having Called by the Grave at one is less bad in a lot of ways, I guess. Like, if you go second and if you put Called by in your deck as an attempt to kind of like make your going first plan better, and then you lose the coin flip and you go second and it's best of one, and there's no mulligans. Oh, they don't mostly play best of one. Oh, it's just the YCS that's best of one. Okay. Huh. Okay. Well, in that case, maybe it's fine to ban this. Like, obviously, if it kind of creates like a new world order in a way, because they've also limited Ash, right? So this means that like your Charmies are resolving almost all the time. Um yeah, it's like generally just useful against graveyard decks as well, I guess. But so like clearly they want to make it so that they're the Charmies that you're trying to resolve are going to resolve, that your other hand traps that you're trying to resolve are going to resolve. Um, and I guess this is an attempt to correct the going first win rate by some amount. Uh, if they're finding, especially that like FTKs that are particularly popular, then you definitely need to find ways to make that worse. And called by definitely is only doing that. Yeah, I mean, I think this one is fine. I think the Ash semi-limit made less sense to me than this one does. Like, this card just only does going first stuff, more or less. Uh, I do think that it's a bit scary to ban called by and leave Maxi. Oh, yeah. There's a comment in the chat literally right as I'm saying it. But yeah, I think leaving Maxi in the format at the same time as your called by is a little spooky. Like, that's not, I think, ideal or what you really want to be doing, but I imagine a maxi ban is likely to follow at some point. Although it's possible, I guess, that they just view maxi as this like necessary evil um to make it so that the going first win rate is lower. I don't know. It's definitely, it's a pretty significant Yu-Gi-Oh specific problem, this like going first win rate delta. Um Think of rogue decks that died at Ash Blossom and it was at 3. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, they take another copy out in December. I mean, that seems fair. I think the other part of it too is like the argument of, well, you should leave called by in the game so that rogue decks have ways to beat the new hand trap that they can't beat. Um, like, unfortunately, this is, I think, a problem with Yu-Gi-Oh! Where because there's no rotation, there's just this like expectation of being able to play decks forever, and the reality of it is that like no card game ecosystem can really support an archetype existing forever unless it gets persistent support. And so like rather than saying we need to leave called by legal so that my rogue deck is playable, realistically, I think it's more of a situation where it's like I need Konami to print more support for my rogue deck so that it is playable, unfortunately. And like I recognize that uh that is a very frustrating uh solution to the problem, I guess I could say. Like that's not ideal, but I ultimately think that it's the only really viable approach that you can take, unfortunately. Okay, yeah, so called by to 0, I mean, big change, big change. I think I like it though. If this happened in Master Duel and the TCG, I would be totally fine. Uh Yeah, if it was a necessary evil, it would have been kept at 3, not 1. Yeah, I mean, like that's fair too, right? Like they've already clearly acknowledged that the power level of the card is outlier by putting it to 1, so like it is probably just time to rip the band-aid off. It's also worth noting that like called by, as like more and more of the hand traps become traps instead of monsters, like the Dominus cards, things like this. Or like the Knight to E4, the new Chaos Origins like chess card. Like it's not even going to necessarily do the thing you want it to do, and it's only going to be negating things like the Charmies that they clearly want to have in the game. So I mean, I think that it was probably time for this to go. So um yeah, I mean, it's technically a Cool Tune buff, though Cool Tune did get like pretty, oh yeah, Rose Whip ban as well. Yeah. So, I mean, Cool Tune did get pretty smashed in this ban list. So I don't think it's too concerning. Okay. So Harpy's Featherstone to 0. Finally, obviously, like this is a Radiant Typhoon card that, oh, wait, was this searchable? Like, were they just letting people register one of this card as like if you draw it, you can lock your opponent out of the game situation? Yeah, I really want Genesis on Master Duel too. Someone asked if I'm playing more Genesis or Master Duel. I'm playing more Master Duel because it's easier. Um, but I would like to be playing more Genesis if I'm being really honest. Like I've been playing a bit online. I mentioned earlier I'm gonna order some cards to play You can search it with thrust. Of course, of course. Okay. Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. What's thrust at in the OCG? Is it it's 3? Yeah, okay. It's at 3. Okay, yeah, yeah. Then fair enough. That seems like a reason enough on its own to make that change. Is just say we don't want people thrusting for for it. Um I've played a little bit on Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega, yeah. I just find like the unofficial simulators, Omega's better because it's an automated sim, don't get me wrong. But I just find like it's so clunky sometimes. And I also this is like not necessarily like a thing that's really achievable for anything that's indie, but I play a lot of card games on my phone. Like I'm a phone gamer. I try to spend not all day in this office because especially like I work in this office, so if I then spend my entire evening in this office as well, I end up like sitting in here for like 12 hours or 14 hours. So it definitely helps me to be able to like play games on my phone so I can go like sit upstairs on the couch with like the cats and jam something. And so that's the other reason why I end up playing a lot more Master Duel than I would anything else. Okay, I mean this just seems like a very reasonable change. Like this is like an obnoxious floodgate that just doesn't need to exist and doesn't need to be punishing. Yeah, I am kind of an iPad kid. It's actually true. Like um but I don't know, man. The gameplay on phones is just good enough. I will say like learning how to play Yu-Gi-Oh on Master Duel on my phone was definitely a choice. Like it's not that easy to read cards on your phone, so like when you're still learning things, there's like a certain amount of extra barrier to entry that you put on yourself. I didn't play that much on my phone, especially starting off for like exactly that reason, but I did play like the tutorial and everything like that on my phone. Yeah, and I like the room lobby making is like it's fine. I really don't like manual simulators. That's just like not my thing. I played VGC Pokemon like 10 years ago. And then I have not played it since. I know the Pokemon Champions is coming to mobile soon. Maybe it's worth checking out. Yeah, Hearthstone's like the ultimate phone game for sure. I still play some Hearthstone on my phone. I've actually been getting a bit more back into it recently. I find like with Hearthstone I kind of like I'll leave for a set or two and then I'll come back and uh oh, EDO Pro is automatic. Oh, okay, okay. That's not so bad. It has a mobile client, but it's clunky. Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe I'll give one of them a try. Who knows? Like, it could be worth it because the Genesis gameplay is like very very fun. So like, I do want to have more opportunities to play it. Oh yeah, and like I don't want to play on Dueling Book. Like it's kind of funny. I feel like with Dueling Book in particular, like obviously like I respect the hustle and like this is no shade to Distant Coder, but I do think that like his content of like look at all of these like really egregious judge calls on Dueling Book, like it cannot help the optics of that website. That like he just releases a video every 3 days that's like, look at this person behaving like a maniac. You too could engage with like person who is going to swear at you and like waste your time if you play on Dueling Book. Like I don't know. It's kind of a weird situation where like uh it's like very much so not portraying it in a super positive light, I think. And like clearly the desire to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And like the positives from having a manual sim where you can use all the cards outweigh the weirdos. Um, but yeah, like yeah, yeah, it's like very much so intended for like a very specific subset of people. I think that's fair. Okay, let's finish this. So generator transverser. I don't know what this card does. Is this new? No. No, it's an old card. Um, this linked card and monsters it points to cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. If this card points to 2 monsters, you can switch control of these monsters. So this is a dumb tune OTK card. Like, this is how you were donating stuff to your opponent. This probably combos with this, right? It's involved in this process. Yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. This does not. You can kind of tell when you're reading Yu-Gi-Oh cards on a ban list, if you even if you don't know what they're used for, where it's like there's just like certain Yu-Gi-Oh cards you're like, yeah, this doesn't look like it's used ethically. Like you can already tell right away that like the purpose of this card is not oh, I see. So this is the one that's doing the kind of gimmick puppety things where you have you destroy stuff that they have that um has a lot of power, has a lot of attack points, sorry. Makes sense, makes sense. And then Naturia Rose Whip, this is obviously to bring it in line with the TCG, makes perfect sense. Tutorable, Floodgate is kind of like the antithesis of, I think, what they want modern Yu-Gi-Oh to be about. So I do think that that this one makes a lot of sense. I mean, overall, I think this ban list is like pretty based, right? Like there's like mostly just bans that people think make sense, limiting of a bunch of the more obnoxious FTK cards. Like the unlimits seem like they're like total non-bows, not like non-factors, but like if you are like a Sprite or a Tyrellman's player, like congratulations. This, you know, you just got a new a new toy to play with. Like this all seems like very reasonable, very uh interesting. I don't know. What's the general response been so far? Like are people pretty excited about it? It's a good list for what it is. I'm always in need of link twos. I think that it's interesting. Every card that shows up on the ban list are bad, and I hate them unless I use them in my deck. Yeah. Oh, maybe more tier support. Fair enough. Yeah, yeah, I could see it. Cool. Mawilix, what was the card that you didn't want banned? Was it it was Generator? I missed your chat. I knew that you were unhappy about one of the bans. Oh, you think Toon is still the best deck now? Even with the changes, it's just like this removed all the FTK stuff, but they still get to do the transfer. Okay, yeah. They still get to build like the really hard to break board and win that way. Makes sense. I think they know people would pay quite a lot for tier support as well. Oh, you know what? This is an interesting discussion. Let me run this by everyone because I think the conversation about Super Poly is an interesting one for sure. Um, so, iconic quick play spell in the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game. um, I was thinking about this recently about like load bearing metagame cards. And in Yu-Gi-Oh, we usually think of these, I think, as non-engine cards that end up being load bearing, like for the sake of the metagame. And I was thinking about it in particular recently because like super polymerization is doing a lot of work to hold back the darkness, so to speak, right now, right? Like both the Cool Tune decks in the TCG and even a lot of like the branded decks. If this card didn't exist, I think it would be exceptionally challenging to break those boards. And because Super Poly is in the metagame, in the TCG at least, you're ending up with this situation where people at least have like hope against these strategies. But at the same time, like this card, I don't think is doing super positive things from like a metagame dynamism standpoint, because you just end up in this situation where the metagame kind of coalesces around super poly targets and playing around or through super polymerization. And like, so you end up in this weird position where like arguably super poly is too strong and it's overrepresented and it's like frustrating. But at the same time, like if you just imagine a world where super polarization is just gone, and I know Yu-Gi-Oh does not take the approach of just full banning cards like that. It's not a thing they do. So I guess there's not necessarily like the say, you don't have to worry per se that that's a thing that they're going to do. But certainly like you would think that if you even if you limit it and you take it down to 1, you're definitely going to end up in this situation where you are just going to get like run over by the potential issues brought on by like Cool Tune, for example, is a good one. And so like as a result, you just end up with this, like we say, like load bearing card where it's being played in too many decks, probably. Uh, but at the same time, like if it just didn't exist, like isn't playing into this kind of thing like just miserable? I don't know. And so I was thinking about this, and I think that this is a good example of a like kind of quote unquote load bearing card. And so I was trying to think of other similar types of effects in both Yu-Gi-Oh and other games that are like load bearing in the way that uh you you kind of need them, you kind of want them to exist, but at the same time their existence is like arguably a net negative. Um One of the good examples of this is in Riftbound, actually. And we were just talking about this earlier in the stream. If you were there, it's going to be a little bit of a repeat, but um, the current win rate data in Riftbound, like this Master Yi win rate, this is the most played deck in the format. Like this is a little sus, right? Like this is starting to get to disconcerting levels, but notably, the thing that keeps the deck from having like a really exceptional win rate are its matchups against Misfortune and Sivir, and these decks are playing Dazzling Aurora. And Dazzling Aurora is this, oh geez, not found. Wow. Excellent website design. That's an issue where the search is going here and then it's keeping the stats, so the search isn't working. Some live debugging here. This is an issue where their query string is taking the whole URL instead of snipping off the end, because I think that this is supposed to be like this, right? And now if we search Dazzling Aurora, it should work. Yep, it's supposed to go to /cards. Maybe I have to submit a bug. But anyway, so yeah, so Dazzling Aurora, this is a card that basically lets you cheat giant things into play. And it's basically the only thing that beats up on Master Yi currently. But the general attitude around Dazzling Aurora is like people hate this card. Like genuinely, like there's a ton of disdain for Dazzling Aurora because of how frustrating it is to play against. Like if you're not playing one of these Master Yi decks that gets preyed upon it, or if you're not playing something that's specifically good at removing it or the big monsters it puts into play, it's just like miserable to play against. But I think in the same way, it is kind of doing like some amount of load bearing in the format. So yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. Like I was thinking about this with both Super Poly and with Dazzling Aurora. I think that there are probably some other examples that you could come up with from other games as well, where there are cards that exist that are frustrating, but like kind of need to exist in order to really really like keep the metagame stable. Pod Dead. That's interesting that card looks tame to you. Basically, like the reason it's so powerful in Riftbound, I can give a little bit of context for the Yu-Gi-Oh viewers. In an average game of Riftbound, the game probably goes 7 to 8 turns at least, sometimes a bit longer. And most of the decks in the metagame are only really looking to play smaller, efficient units. Like people go up to 6. That's kind of the highest that you'll see most of the decks in the metagame going to. This deck's going all the way up to 8 for like this big Vile Maw card. But nothing else in the format is really going big. And the frustrating part about Dazzling Aurora in particular is the repeatability. So what happens is when you play against the Dazzling Aurora deck, they put an Aurora in play. On end step, you put in either an Elder or a Baron Nashor. If you put an Elder Dragon in play, this kills 3 things. So you 3-for-1 them with the Aurora. And then you either have to spend your turn dealing with the Aurora, and now there's a dragon in play, or you spend your turn dealing with the dragon, and then they just get another one on their next end step, in addition to whatever else they're doing on their turn. And because the Aurora kind of does it all, it finds the unit as well as sets up this value engine forever, the rest of your deck can just be full of ramp cards, removal, and filtering to find the Aurora consistently. And so it's just like pretty frustrating to play against for players. And if your deck is not exceptionally well set up to deal with specifically this strategy, it's going to be pretty hard. Someone said just go faster. That does work. So that's the kinds of decks that do well into Aurora are the aggro decks. If you can put pressure on them quickly, if they miss on the Aurora. So like you get 2 resources a turn in this game, and you start with 2 or 3 in play. So commonly Dazzling Aurora is being cast on turn 4 is probably the average turn that it comes down on. But if they have Mobilize, which ramps you 1, and then they have Catalyst of Aeons, which ramps you 2, they can get it into play on turn 3. And if they get this into play on turn 3, like almost every deck is going to struggle against it unless you have like a specific answer. It's a War Mother's Call that your opponent can get rid of. Yeah, it's kind of the right effect, the right idea. Oh, that's an interesting take on Super Poly. You think that the frustration curve for it is highest amongst mid-level players and lowest amongst high and low level players. What do you mean by that? You think that once you get to a high level, you kind of recognize it as a card that needs to exist in the metagame for metagame health, or you think that once you get to a high level, you can play around it well enough that it's not problematic? I'm curious about what you mean. Whoops. Opening things. Because like if we go look in God. Back in tier 1. Let's go look at top decks. Like if you go look at a lot of these strategies, right? Like I think that there's a reasonable argument that there's a reasonable argument that like it's necessary and that like having this card in the game is fine. But I also think that there's a fairly reasonable argument for like, man, it sure is frustrating when my opponent like 12-for-1s me with 5 mana and then they set Super Poly and I lose. Like, I can see it both ways. Better player at a higher level, you become better at building boards that can play around it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. A lot of pro players that wish they banned that card. I mean, I think that there's definitely arguments both ways, right? Like I think there's probably some pro players that think, well, I don't mind. Like I can build a board that is aware of Super Poly. Like I watched Triff play a game at, I think it was French Nationals, where he rotoried his opponent and saw that his opponent was on basically like air plus a Super Poly. And like he did play like very interestingly around the Super Poly in a way where he never gave him a good target for it. And like I think that's like kind of cool. But like that was enabled in large part due to the rotary, and that's why he was able to play around it, I guess. But maybe he would have played around it anyway. But I think that the other part of Super Poly that we always seem to come back to when we're talking about like balance in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a lot of what we're talking about here is dialogue of like, what do you will, yeah, as a going second card, it's a nice kind of autocorrect tool. But then you look at like this branded Dracotail list and you're like, well, they're just setting this after building the branded Dracotail board as an extra layer of interaction that you have to find some kind of way to play through. And like, that's kind of a miserable experience, right? Like Sure, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing that is especially healthy or positive for the game. Do, do, do. Yeah. Is the Yi deck in Riftbound a mid-range deck? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Like more or less, like not everything in Riftbound is a mid-range deck, but um the metagame is very mid-rangey. Like if we were to classify these top decks here on the tier list into macro archetypes, I would go mid-range, 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 aggro, 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 control, mid-range, ramp, ramp, control, aggro, mid-range, mid-range, aggro, aggro. And like it's a lot of mid-range basically. Um if you missed the early part of the stream, we were also talking about the fact that there's now a combo deck in Riftbound that's become quite popular, which is this this deck that people are playing, which is kind of interesting. This is Lux, where basically what you do is you get to deep draw your entire deck, and if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player, like reading like draw 4 on a card has got to be kind of a system shock. But yeah, like basically you deep draw your entire deck on the first 3 turns of the game, and then once you have your entire deck in your hand, you loop this card Echo Recurrent that when it dies readies all your resources, and you make infinite mana, or infinite power, infinite energy, infinite 1/1s, infinite 3/3s, and and then you take 3 extra turns with Time Warp. um, Aurora, I think, basically can't beat this Lux combo deck. Yeah, I think that they have almost no hope. They're just too slow, and the Lux deck is basically completely ignoring what's going on. Okay, let's talk about do we have a full card list yet? Can I just say that the way in which card lists are revealed for Yu-Gi-Oh sets drives me nuts. Like the the system through which Konami shows you cards is just like so aggravating. Like there's no spoiler season, there's no like getting hyped about cards. They get released in the OCG like 6 months earlier, and then you have to basically just guess. Yeah. I just can't. Yeah, very frustrating. But is this the full list? Like, do we have the full list? Oh yeah, the forest deck in Shadowverse right now, pretty fun. I have to remember to log in today to get my free packs. Clown Clue Dreisty. Okay, so I'm gonna do a full review of this set at some point before I make any kind of video on it, because I do want to make a video talking about a couple of the new archetypes that have come out, because I do think they're quite cool. But I wanted to talk in particular about the new TCG exclusive archetype today, because I think it's really neat. So where is it? Is it not in this? I just there's no chess cards. I don't see any chess cards. Maybe I'm missing them because they're all synchro spells and traps. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go. Let's go look somewhere else. Chess archetype. Um. Yeah. Angelic key. Back here, I guess. Seems fine. Oh, these are just the arts. Okay. Well, that's not useful. Maybe here. Is the ancient. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This has the card text. This is good. Oh, that's the OCG. Oh my god, classic. Okay, hold on. Maybe this gets us here. Oh yeah, I see. Maybe here. These resources are not good. Like, holy, are they not good? All right, we're just gonna look here for the sake of it. Um, all right, this is fine. These are the cards I really wanted to talk about. So I think what's pretty interesting about this new archetype is, for those who aren't aware, this is the new. It had chess. What? No, it didn't. Surely, am I crazy? Um, no, because see, this is OCG. I'm so confused. Oh, I see. Okay, okay. All right. It's the delay. Fair enough. So anyway, yeah, the chess archetype, I think what's pretty interesting about it is they are clearly trying to explore design spaces that are um trying to do different things with the existing kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh structure. I think that it would be pretty easy to kind of get down on Yu-Gi-Oh design, and I think recently there's been a bit of a tendency towards archetypes being designed in a way that they just kind of get stuff for existing, and I don't think that that's especially interesting design. So like good examples of this are of things that I think are kind of medium design because they just get stuff for existing are archetypes like Cool Tune and archetypes like Dracotail. I know it's like kind of a meme that I hate on Dracotail, but I can point to the core thing that I think is pretty frustrating, and I think that yeah, like it's a good it's a good at least thing to be aware of. So one of the things that goes on with both Cool Tune and Dracotail is they get effects by virtue of you being used as material either for synchro or fusion summons. And what this means is that it's just another resource loop that is being introduced into these cards for free, essentially. And what I don't love about it is that it doesn't really ask you to make interesting deck design decisions or especially interesting gameplay decisions. It basically just says, hey, when you're playing this archetype, you're going to get all the stuff that happens when a card enters or is played, and then we're also going to give you additional value. And I know that historically there's been an attempt to kind of rectify issues between, um, with specifically with like synchro and fusion archetypes. And I think that this is largely to do with the fact that they are the summoning types that go negative implicitly, and that is in and of itself potentially somewhat problematic. But when you're looking at the way that they've approached solving that problem, they haven't given the extra deck monsters more ways to recoup advantage. They've actually just made it so that by using things as material, you are getting more effects. And I just think that that's basically undoing any of the opportunity cost behind playing these types of summoning archetypes. And as a result, I just don't think it's especially interesting design. I would much rather them do things like they've done with this new chess archetype, where yes, all the monsters are synchro monsters, and so they live in the extra deck, but the way that they've tried to rectify the problems around the summoning condition and implicitly going negative is that they've given you alternative ways to get the monsters into play beyond just using a tuner and a non-tuner. So the main field spell allows you to discard a spell or trap, and then you get to special summon from the extra deck, and then you also get to place a monster from the extra deck in your spell or trap zone face up, and then you get to do the cool thing where if one of your monster cards is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can return one of your spell or trap angelic key monsters and then special summon them, which is very cool. This is a much better solution to my mind, in a way to get players to access their extra deck monsters without just saying, we're going to print a bunch of main deck monsters that give you a bunch of value. And so I like this a fair amount more. I'm pretty fond of this design philosophy. And then when you actually get into like what the monsters do, I think that there's a lot of really neat effects here. So some of them are, I think, beginning to beginning to grow too far. And this is probably the one that I think people are going to potentially run into the most frustrations with, which is um, when this is in play, you can use it to banish a monster. And then if it's placed into the spell or trap zone, you can add a trap from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is also pretty cool. So this means when you play the field spell and you put this on the table, you get to set up some more resources. And then while it's a continuous spell, so not when it's a monster, importantly, which means that unless you're specifically in this archetype and doing things to move it into the spell or trap zone, you don't get that same value. You don't get to do the kind of degenerate thing, which is limiting your opponent to 5 monster effects per turn. Now, I think that the issues around this particular floodgate are definitely like a little bit disconcerting. I'm sure that there are people who are going to say that this is too constrictive, but yeah, I think I agree with you, Selim, that 5 monster effects is enough monster effects that you get to play your turn. And that you should, in a modern Yu-Gi-Oh deck, either be able to build a strong enough board to not be completely like blown out, or you should be able to remove this and then take the rest of your turn. Like I just don't really subscribe to the notion that like 5 monster effects is really blocking. Now, it is worth noting that if they can also get the Bastion in play as a continuous spell, then it makes it so that you have to destroy this first. And that, I think, is where you're potentially going to run into problems, where it's not going to be something that you can remove with just the 5 effects, and that maybe adding Bastion is going to push it over the edge of becoming too powerful. But I think it's close. The nice thing about it is that if they do decide that it is too much, they can ban this and still allow the deck to have its kind of like main piece. So I think, I don't know. I think it's pretty sweet. Yeah, that's right. You currently always get one with the other. So you're always going to be making this, and this is going to place this. I think one thing about this though is that, again, it's you need ways to put this into the spell or trap zone. So this is like a clever way to make it so that this isn't really bridgeable. You do have to just, like, honest to goodness, be playing the field spell or something else in order to make this work. And so I don't know. I really like this archetype. I think it looks really cool, and I think what's exciting is that it did not get hit super aggressively in the in Genesis, which I think is maybe where it's going to see the most play. And I'm pretty excited to give it a try. I'm curious if, because obviously they've kind of like, we've got like the king, we have the rook, we have the knight, and we have the pawn. So we still have bishop and queen left. And I do think it'll be interesting to see whether they add like more protection effects in those last couple of ones. But overall, I think that like the archetype is set up to be like quite cool and quite interesting. And I'm pretty excited to give it a try. Oh, you can bridge it, hey? Oh, that's interesting. I mean, maybe if it's bridgeable, it's going to be too good. Then but yeah. Yeah, I think that it's good to know, though. You need an extra monster zone for some of the card text, but you don't need it, I think for yeah, you don't need it for any of the like the core effects. Uh yeah. So you can play it, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Hopper, what are you doing? This is the bitey cat. He's the one who will bite me. Um And then I think the last thing to note is one of the big things about this archetype is like, obviously when you're setting up floodgates and like that's a core part of your deck's identity and you don't have activatable interaction, you have interaction that you're kind of like setting down and then asking your opponent to figure out a way to play through. If you go second, it's like really untenable. And so they thought about that and they gave this deck like a really interesting kind of unique card. Hopper, stop trying to eat tape. In this Angelic opening to E4. What are you doing? God. I think if your opponent goes first, you can also activate this card from hand during the standby phase of turn 1. It's funny, when I did my video making cards, one of the types of cards that I didn't make but could have was like the ley lines, which is definitely like what this is inspired by, right? The ley lines in Magic the Gathering are cards that you can reveal in your opening hand, and then you just put them into play right away. And so this is kind of the same thing. This says like, you know, if you're going second, you still get to set up some amount of interaction right away for your opponent to have to work through. The one thing I think about this card that is potentially pretty annoying to deal with is the fact that it is set up in a way where you have to hard draw this going second. Sorry, I had to unplug my external hard drive because my cat was trying to bite the cord. Yeah, it's set up in a way where like if you're going second playing one of these decks, you have to hard draw this in order for like your engine to really feel like it's doing very much, which is like, I think not ideal. I think in a perfect world, you would probably have it be a situation where you don't have to hard draw it. But I also understand that like, yeah, I was also surprised they printed the sentence if your opponent goes first, but here we are. I'm definitely down. I'm on board. But yeah, so basically this is, I think, a clever but very it's a very like, what's the right word? It's a kind of a cudgel, right? For solving this problem of like the previous kind of archetypes that they've designed with good tools going second have been things like Q or you know, Azuna or Femina, where it's like, oh, well, you can do something in engine on your turn, on your opponent's first turn, because we'll give these quick effects to some of these monsters. And then for this archetype, they went, you know what? If your opponent goes first, you can just do your combo right away. But I think that this is, I think that this is the right kind of thing to be adding. I don't think it could be a reveal from your deck to get this effect. That would be too good. But it is kind of awkward that like you have to hard draw this. The good news is that if you don't draw it and then you draw it later and you just set it, like you still get to do powerful things by activating it as a trap. So it's probably okay ultimately either way. But I just thought that this was pretty interesting because it's like a very unique set of text that would be worth kind of talking about. I think that very clearly the TCG exclusive, because what are the other recent TCG exclusives? It's RB, Mitsurugi was a TCG exclusive, right? This, what are the other TCG exclusives? I know they've been like kind of much maligned historically. Are they designed in North America? Like, are they designed by Konami America versus Konami Japan? GMX, so yeah, that one I don't think is especially good. Mimighoul. Oh my god. Okay. Pumpkin. Yep. I knew that one. Yep. Ashen. Yeah, that one is not especially playable, I guess. I think though that you can see a kind of interesting Konami Japan overlooks it still. Okay. Yeah. Odeon. Oh, I didn't know Odeon was TCG exclusive. Interesting. Yeah, and like I don't think that this is going to be like a major metagame player in advanced. I think that this is too inconsistent, but it's definitely cool. And I think the other thing to point out about this, I guess I didn't mention it, that's very cool, is the fact that all of these cards care about positioning and where your opponent's position is, I think, something um, that is like very notable and exciting as well. Like Yu-Gi-Oh has these 5 zones that a lot of the times I think end up not feeling impactful in an interactive sense. Obviously, like zone math matters for some decks because where you position things is going to matter for like link connections or you might need your EMZ for something in particular. So like that's all well and good. Like that's great. But outside of that, like I think that there are definitely way more things that could be done with zones and with zones mattering. And this clearly is like a very cool example of the design team finding new and interesting ways to make your opponent zones matter. In a way where, especially because you're often going to reveal that you're on this deck right away with Pawn D4 or whatever it's called. Uh, but yeah, I think it's pretty sweet. I think it's gonna be interesting. Like I said, I think there's not a huge chance that it's gonna be powerful enough to exist in this metagame. Like obviously, like the branded Draco Tales of the world and Cool Tune and the like right now are just kind of stomping a lot of things out. And it is unfortunate that a card like Super Poly, where it's trying to get like Sea Monster of Theseus, probably means that playing any other deck that is based around having a number of synchro monsters in play is going to be like especially challenging. But yeah, Elf Note cares about zones, but Elf Note cares about your zones for your combo. So it's like you have to pay attention to your zones, but you don't really have to think about what your opponent might do to your zones. I guess like Kashtira is another one that's kind of interesting in that regard. Mech Knight, yeah, Mech Knight cares about zones. That's true. That's true. Not super playable, but yeah. So we haven't seen the Queen yet, and like strictly speaking, the Queen is supposed to be the most powerful piece. So I think we know it's not going to be a main deck monster. It's going to be an extra deck monster. So like, who knows exactly what that looks like, but they also might get another spell would be my guess, because where the field spell is asking you to discard spell or traps, like they clearly intend for this to be a deck that is playing like some hand attacks and then probably hand attack cards and then largely like other pieces of interaction. This might be kind of interesting, like control deck too. Like you could play it as kind of a going second deck where you hope to draw opening to E4 and then you like load up on board breakers, because if you draw extras, you can like discard them to problem to go off. Like there's definitely some like interesting stuff going on, I think. Oh, that would be super cool if you got like Xyz, Angeliki that were the white pieces. Oh, that's a really cool idea. One thing that someone noted to me, and I thought it was interesting, I saw it in a comment on one of my videos where I was talking about the fact that I thought zones were like a cool and interesting design space, is that if you, because currently they don't matter that much, if you asked a person to play with zones, obviously, like say, like if you basically said to someone like, hey, I need you to represent what zone things are in clearly, you were basically like telling them what kind of archetype you were playing. And I think that's one of the main positives of something like link summoning coming into the game, is that it does make it now so that you just have to you have to kind of like represent the metagame or the not the metagame state, but the game state properly the whole time. And I think that's got to be a net positive, right? Like there's just no other way to look at it. We have Chess Archfiend. Yeah, that might mean that to. Yeah, you could be talking about Imperm. Imperm's not that old though, right? I think this person was talking about like many years ago. Imperm's only like 10 years old, right? It's not that new. But I don't know. I thought it was an interesting comment. There's we were talking about this a little bit earlier. I keep going back to this Lux deck, but like the player who was playing this Lux deck on stream at the Riftbound tournament this weekend, he made top 8, and they mic up the players like they do in Yu-Gi-Oh. And he got to the end of the combo where like he had his whole deck in his hand and he had infinite everything. And he basically like said to his opponent, well, what could you possibly have? Like, I can beat everything. And I did think that that was like kind of awkward and like sort of in poor form, because you're basically saying to your opponent, like, well, tell me what's in your deck and I can tell you how I can beat it. But like, the way that this loop works and the way that you have to iterate through things to win, like, you can stack your deck basically by recycling cards from your trash with Forge of the Future. So it does actually matter what their thing is that they have to interact with you with. And he was basically trying to like get the person to tell him what their interaction could be. And I think they were like friends and they tested together, so like it was like not intended as like a kind of angle shoot. Yeah, yeah, but I know, no, I know. Like I think that that kind of presentation is pretty weird. And there's another thing that happens right now in Magic. It just got tanked to ban, so it's less strong now. But in Magic, there's this deck, Amulet of Vigor. No, no, in Magic it would be fine. There's this Amulet of Vigor combo deck in Magic. I'll pull it up here. So this is Amulet Titan, and this is doing like really weird stuff as well, where you have Amulet of Vigor, which basically makes it so that when things would come into play tapped, they don't. They get to, there's a trigger that untaps them. And then you have these lands that tap for 2 mana, but they would normally enter tapped and then return a land when you play them. So the theory around these cards is that the opportunity cost is you have to return a land and you don't get to use this the turn that it enters into play. But it turns out that like when you have Amulet of Vigor, this just becomes a one-time source of 2 mana. And so this deck creates a bunch of loops. Yeah, all my homies hate Amulet Titan too. They just needed to ban Amulet. Like, I'm so tired of this deck existing. It's literally been around for 10 years, if not more. And it's like been one of the best decks in the format the whole time. And no one is willing to engage with the fact that it should be banned because it's hard to play. Anyway, that diatribe aside, this deck presents loops. But the thing that's really annoying about the way that this deck works is that when you are looping in this deck, you basically have to propose the loop you're going to do. And so this is the key distinction between most other games and Yu-Gi-Oh! In Yu-Gi-Oh!, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in Yu-Gi-Oh! Loops are not allowed, right? Like, unless the loop wins the game and you can show how it wins the game, you can't introduce a loop into the game, right? Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I thought I remembered hearing that. Come on up, Mabel. Yeah, basically. That was my understanding. You basically can't have loops. So in Magic and in Riftbound as well, you can have loops that advance the game state. Okay, okay. So in Magic and Riftbound, the way that it works is that if you introduce a loop into the game, you have to present what the loop is. And so you basically have to demonstrate it once. You have to do all the iterations that creates the loop. And then you have to basically describe what the change in game state is from the loop. So you can like demonstrate the loop, and then you could say, okay, the change from this game state, this loop is I'm up 2 mana after this loop. And so like I would propose that I do this loop a million times so that I have 2 million mana. What a lot of the time happens with Amulet Titan, these decks, is they have a bunch of different loops that they can go through. And so what will sometimes happen, and they're not supposed to do this, but what some Amulet Titan pilots will do is they will, rather than doing the loop, they will propose the loop to you and say, I'm going to do this loop where I do X, Y, and Z, and it generates plus whatever mana. Do you accept this loop? And by saying yes or no to that question, you are basically revealing what type of interaction you have in your hand. So like some of their loops care about a specific card in the graveyard. Some of their loops can't beat a particular hate piece coming into play. And what happens is that people propose loops in a way that basically is attempting to extract information about what's in their opponent's hand. And I really don't like that. I really don't like that. And you're not supposed to do it, but it does happen.
someone asked what I would ban out of Amulet. I would ban Amulet. The deck has got to go. It's just like it's time. It's had so much time to exist, and I don't believe in kind of like sacred cows in the modern format. I know that's like a frustrating response, but I think even without Amulet and like just spelunking, and there's actually even another untapper that's blue green. Like I think some version of Amulet is probably still playable, even without Amulet. It just becomes much less degen. Alternatively, I would also accept a spelunking ban. That would also be fine, but um, uh, people do play infinite combos on Arena, but they tend to not be as common in the standard format. So like that's modern that I'm looking at. You can't play modern on Arena. You can play Pioneer and standard, but like there have been more or less infinite combos on Arena, and you just have to play fast enough that you present lethal. There's not, there is like a real cost. Like when you're playing on Magic Online, there are certain decks that you kind of just can't play because you can't, you can't execute the loops fast enough to win the game. Like there's a bunch of combos that in paper are playable, but on like Magic Online require like 9 clicks to deal 1 damage, which means if your opponent's at 20, like you have to do 180 clicks and you have to never miss. So, uh, no, you just have to have high APM. It's one of the things that people have asked for a long time is kind of like a demonstrate loop feature. Yeah, Paradox Engine is legal, and like there are loops, like there are in combo decks that are going like pseudo infinite or are playing really long turns, but you do have a timer. You just have to play fast enough. Um, yeah, yeah. Are you I guess my audience I think here is got to be at least half Yu-Gi-Oh players. So like in Magic, loops are pretty common and you're allowed to play loops. Are you guys familiar with the loop that's not legal in Magic because it's not deterministic? Anyone has anyone heard of Four Horsemen? This one's pretty cool. Um this is probably, oh yeah, okay. Let's talk about this. This one's sweet. So combo decks are like obviously very playable in a bunch of formats, and a lot of the combo decks do go infinite. They generate either infinite mana or whatever, and then you win the game in that way. So there is and has been for an extended period of time a combo that's legal in Magic, um, where you can create a loop that is not technically deterministic, and as a result, it's not legal in tournaments because you can't ever propose a full loop where you can demonstrate a game state advancement from step one to the end of the loop. So how does it work? The idea is pretty simple. You have Mesmeric Orb and Basalt Monolith. Mesmeric Orb just says when something becomes untapped, that permanent's controller mills 1 card. And then Basalt Monolith, you can tap for 3 mana and then you can pay 3 mana to untap it. So the combo here is pretty obvious. You have Mesmeric Orb, you have Basalt Monolith, you tap and untap this an infinite number of times, which gives you an infinite number of mills. And importantly, you are in control of all of the mills. Each time you do this, you get a single mill, and so it goes through. So there are lots of decks that have historically used, or that if you can mill yourself, you can win the game. And what you can do is you can mill 3 Narcomoebas. When these get milled, they get put into play, and then you can use Dread Return to return something from your graveyard. Now, what a lot of people would win the game with now, if you were to do this, is Thassa's Oracle, which is just this like really obnoxious blue creature that if you put it into play with an empty library, you win the game. So it says when it enters, look at the top X, where your X is devotion to blue. This is the number of blue pips you have. And then you put 1 on the bottom, and then you put 1 on top, and the rest on the bottom in a random order. None of this text matters. The only text that matters is if X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. So if you activate this trigger with no cards in deck, you win, basically. So like that's a really obvious, easy combo now that exists, where with this kind of loop of mill every card out of my deck into mill some Narcomoebas and Dread Return them, uh, you can just win the game. Like there's lots of things that do this, and there are lots of decks in Magic that are basically trying to deck themselves and then win the game. However, there were not always a ton of super clean ways to do this. And so uh in the past, people had to do some degenerate things, some very strange things. And the thing that you would do is you would bring back Sharoom the Hegemon, which when it enters, you get to put you would get to put an artifact from your graveyard into play, and you would put Blasting Station into play. This says sacrifice a creature, deal 1 damage to any target, and then when a creature comes into play, you can untap this. So now what you need is an infinite source of creatures. So what you could do is if you got 4 Narcomoebas, you would sack 3 of them to the Dread Return to put the Sharoom the Hegemon in play. Then you would use the Sharoom the Hegemon to get the Blasting Station in play. And then now you've got one last problem, which is you need to recycle these Narcomoebas into your deck so that you can continue milling yourself to infinitely put Narcomoeba in play, sacrifice it to Blasting Station, deal 1 damage to your opponent, and then each time a new Narcomoeba comes into play, this untaps and you can deal a damage with it. So what do you do to loop it? What you do is you put an Emrakul the Aeon's Torn in your deck. This says when it's put into the graveyard from anywhere, you shuffle your library back into your graveyard. So the idea is we mill 4 Narcomoebas, we put Dread Return on the stack, we get back Sharoom the Hegemon and Blasting Station from Sharoom, and then we start Blasting Stationing our opponent with the Narcomoebas. And then eventually, when we have all the Narcomoebas in the graveyard, we hit this Emrakul, we shuffle our graveyard back, and we do the whole thing over again, except now every time we hit an Narcomoeba, it's 1 damage. Eventually, we'll get through all the Narcomoebas, we'll hit the Emrakul again. Here is the problem. This loop is not deterministic. You cannot prove to your opponent in any way that you will hit 3 Narcomoebas, a Dread Return, the Sharoom, and the Blasting Station before you hit the Emrakul. Technically, this will happen eventually, mathematically, but there is no way that you can prove that it's guaranteed to happen in a limited number of loops. And this is the important thing. In Magic, you have to say how many times you're doing a loop. And although it is infinitesimally small, if you say, I do this loop 1,000,000 times, there is a 1 in 1 trillion chance that none of those 1,000,000 loops will generate 3 Narcomoebas in play, a Dread Return in the graveyard, a Shroom in the graveyard, a Blasting Station in the graveyard, and not the Emrakul in the graveyard. Yes, exactly. Technically, Emrakul could be the top card every time. And so as a result, you can't demonstrate this as a loop. You have to just manually do it. And eventually, you will do it. You will hit the combo and you will win the game. But they had to ban this. Like, this is not technically banned, but if you show up to a Legacy tournament with this deck, you will likely get DQ'd. And the reason is tournaments can't finish if this is what you're doing, because the way that time rules work are that when you go to time, there's 5 more turns. But like, if you're executing your Mesmeric or Basalt Monolith combo, when it hits time, you're not going to pass the turn. You're going to keep doing this until you ideally combo kill your opponent. And so, yeah, you'll get DQ'd basically if you bring this deck, if you bring the 4 Horsemen. Even though it is a loop, sort of, it is non-deterministic enough that you can't actually play it in a way where it's playable as a loop. So yeah, that's a fun one, and I figured maybe many of my Yu-Gi-Oh viewers would not be familiar with the 4 Horsemen. This is kind of an iconic strategy, honestly. But there are, like, people have found other ways to try have tried to do this. Yeah, like, there are now ways that you can play this deck to in a way where you can probably win deterministically. The problem is, of course, you can never win deterministically, but you can probably win in enough iterations that you won't get DQ'd. Um, though, like, yeah, exactly. You had to do it manually. How long did it take to do? Like, did it take the whole round timer to execute? What's it called? Can I Google it? Can we look this up? Oh, look up Infernity. Okay, okay. All right. How's Infernity satisfaction loop? I'm very curious. I'm very curious. It's the okay, Yu-Gi-Oh! Horror article. Perfect. Okay, okay. Infernity's one the 20. That would take days to accomplish. Oh, that's a different one. Is it this article? The other one that they linked? Oh, I see, I see. Oh my god. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Elementary, really. Made your opponent draw the entire deck. So why is this non-deterministic? What's the thing about it that makes it non-deterministic that you have to do manually? It's just that like you never actually start to loop in and of itself. Field, Infernity Mirage, Instant Fusion, Graveyard, some other Infernity cards. This is insane. Like how does I guess it's not a loop per se because oh yeah, slash draw FTK, that seems pretty funny where you like draw your whole deck basically and then you get to win the game by knowing which card it's going to be. That seems sweet. My god. This is like a giant mess. During the second time you perform loop 3, you can replace Laughable All Chain with Gaga Ga Cowboy and perform a Gaga Ga Cowboy burned. Technically, some loop with side blocker where you have to call the name of every card in the game to block it. I mean, that seems miserable. It's a loop, but each iteration takes a really long time. Oh, I see. So it's like, it's the kind of thing where like, it takes you like 8 minutes to do loop 1, and then you can say, well, this is a loop. I would like to propose this loop. Okay, okay. I mean, that makes sense. I get it. I get it now. That's so insane. Psi blocker loop. Psi blocker loop. All right, what is going on here? I like it's funny because I think that they're I mean they're oh, not just blocker loop now, psi blocker loop. All right. What do we think? Is the AI overview gonna have us here? Theoretical infinite combo that abuses the effects of psi card blocker. Reviving, retrieving, and resummoning. Okay. Oh, there isn't loop proposition in Yu-Gi-Oh. Oh, yeah. That's a huge problem. But okay, I also think that just generally speaking, there are like uh some rules inconsistencies between a lot of the card games that like I think each of the card games kind of do like some things better than others. Um like for example, loop proposition should be a thing. Like that's crazy that you can't do that. But I also think there's some like weird stuff in Yu-Gi-Oh related to like gamesmanship, I guess is the best term. Like didn't like a really high level player get banned for putting a Nibiru token in their deck box but not having Nibiru in their deck? Is that a thing that happened? I thought I remembered hearing about that. And then there was this like whole dialogue about um like whether or not like that was like a thing that would happen in other games or not. I feel like I heard about this. Wasn't it like Kamal Crooks or something? Maybe I don't know. I don't remember who it was. It was a Sword Soul token. Oh, okay, so it was an engine card, not a non-engine card. Oh, okay, interesting, interesting. So it was basically like, yeah, I heard that they basically were like, oh yeah, it was a bluff in my deck profile, and then they got a six month ban. Oh, I see. That player just qualified to Worlds. Did not have. Okay, yeah. So that's a problem. Someone declared Cowboy for game and didn't have it in their extra deck. Andres Torres. Okay, yeah, yeah. So this is kind of interesting because there's this whole dialogue um about like gamesmanship and stuff like that that I think in other card games uh is not like it's not received the same way. Like for example, like that example of like having a token in your deck that is for another deck and you don't have anything that makes that token. Like I think in Magic, even if you actively said like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get people by doing this, I don't think you would get banned. Not in a million years. I think people would say that it was gamesmanship and that it was fine. And like you can't take notes in Yu-Gi-Oh either, which I find really strange. I think that's kind of an interesting distinction between the two games. He got top four. He split the top four of a vintage tournament without having any copies of Tendrils in his deck. That's very similar to what Flint Dust is saying about someone saying Cowboy for game and not having Cowboy in their extra deck. There's a famous Magic player who told the story of playing like a local vintage tournament where he was playing a Storm deck that was casting the card Wish, and Wish basically gets a card out of your sideboard for Tendrils of Agony, which was his win condition. And in game one, match one, he stormed off, made a bunch of mana, made a bunch of storm, put the Burning Wish on the stack, and then his opponent just conceded because he assumed that he was going to have the Tendrils of Agony in his sideboard for game. And when LSV went to go look, he realized he had not put a Tendrils in his deck. He didn't register it. And so he spent the rest of the tournament just putting the Burning Wish on the stack and kind of looking at his opponents expectantly. And they all conceded. And up until top four. But top four was open deck list, so they split. I will say joking about stalling for time is something that you might get banned for in Magic. Like that's more likely because like stalling is an actual infraction. It's not gamesmanship. It's like it's actively trying to cheat, right? Uh you can take notes as long as it's for maintaining the game state. But like if you saw your opponent's hand, you couldn't write down what was in their hand, right? That's not allowed. Yeah, like something like counting Nibiru summons while not having a Nibiru in hand, like that's just gamesmanship. Like I don't see an issue with that. And like in Magic, there's like this concept of like the pen trick is what it's called, but it's like if your opponent is thinking about what creatures to attack with, you like pick up your pen to change your life total to basically try and incentivize them to attack with everything. Like that's a thing that people do, and I don't think that should be disallowed or punished. Yeah, exactly. Like joking that you colluded, I could see people getting banned for because it's like, well, if you allow people who say, "Oh, I was just joking," to get away with it, then people who are genuine bad actors can just start saying, "Oh, I was joking," and so like, kind of awkward, right? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. So in Magic, you can take notes. Like if you look at if someone's hand, like you're allowed to write down what's in their hand or things like that. Yeah, I guess I don't think of stuff like the pen trick as angle shooting, but maybe it is. Maybe it's too far. I don't know. Yeah, like stuff like asking, like not like waiting for your opponent to confirm the target for Thoughtseize or click. Yeah, or like chalice checking. Like that's one that is that comes up a lot. That I think is I think this one is a bit weird, but I can explain this one for the Yu-Gi-Oh players. So Chalice of the Void is Chalice of the Void is a card that's played in a bunch of different archetypes, but basically you put this in play, and then depending on how many counters it comes into play with, uh, when someone tries to cast a spell with mana value equal to the number of counters, you counter it. But what happens, especially in long games, sometimes is like, let's say your opponent has a Chalice of the Void on one, you might just cast a one cost spell because it's on them to remember that they have Chalice in play. And if you cast a one cost spell and they say yes, it resolves. They have to remember they have a Chalice, which is like, it's a bit weird, like, because you are knowingly attempting to do something that should be countered. And like, you might well know that the game state should be that this gets countered, but they're expected to track it. It gets very confusing, I think, which is obviously a bit awkward. Oh, you're welcome, Blue X Thunder. I'm glad you're enjoying them. Yeah. Master Duel not showing you cards, public knowledge in your opponent's hand drives me kind of nuts, to be honest. I wish it did. Um, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh disallows revealing private information. So like by revealing private information, like like counting for a Nibiru you don't have would uh would be something that uh would be qualified as revealing private information. Is that what you're saying? Oh yeah, that's weird. Cheating is like, yeah, cheating's common in all trading card games, I would say. Like there are some pretty famous examples of cheaters in Magic. Like there was a player who was playing this like ad nauseum combo deck in modern, and he was like the only person who could win with it. And people were like, "Oh man, he must just be a master." And he like did well at like pro tours and stuff. He was a successful player. But he was cheating. He was shuffle cheating. It turned out, and people realized, and then they were like, "Well, no wonder he was doing well with this deck. He was shuffle cheating combo pieces to the top of it." Um, but yeah. So yeah, so Magic has the concept of mandatory effects. I see people asking. I assume this is in reference to Chalice of the Void. We can go back there. So Magic does have the concept of mandatory effects, but it depends. The ruling on this has changed a bunch of times throughout Magic's history, but I believe currently, the way that this is ruled, um, yeah, there's nothing explicit that's changed. The way that this is ruled is whoever owns this card is responsible for the triggers on this card. And because it's a trigger, you can miss it. There's no such thing as a mandatory trigger in Magic anymore, where it has to happen. It's a situation where if your opponent misses a trigger that's negative, like let's say like this. This is a good example. Dark Confidant. This is a classic example. Oh my god, I can't spell. Confidant. Oh, Condifont. Holy crap. Let's pretend that didn't happen. So like this is a card that says at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library, put it into your hand, and you lose life equal to its mana value. So this, if you miss this in your upkeep, it's ruled differently because this is ruled as a potentially negative trigger, like, and your opponent basically gets to decide whether they want you to get the card but pay the life, or if they would rather have you just having missed get the card. But the problem is, of course, like you can angle it, like the potential for angle shooting here is that if you're at a low life total, you might try to miss this trigger. You're not allowed to, and so your opponent would probably put it on the stack and make you potentially lose the game to it. But that's the space for abuse. So, but with a card like Dark Confidant, this is a potentially negative trigger, so your opponent gets to choose if it gets missed. But with Chalice of the Void, your spell not getting countered is obviously good for you, and so you're never going to choose to let them counter your spell with this trigger. Now, what gets weird is if you try to cast your own spell into uh into a Chalice of the Void. Like if you cast a 1-drop into your own on one and you don't trigger it, then it turns into a pretty substantial cheating investigation, because you are supposed to be responsible for that trigger, and so deliberately casting something into it, like, and then not declaring the trigger is definitely a way to end up with an escalation pretty quickly, I think. Oh, well, this was fun. I had a good time. I hope everyone had a good time. We're definitely going to do some more of these. I got to head out. I got some errands to run, and I got some Riftbound to play tonight. Pretty exciting. But if you enjoyed the stream and you aren't subscribed to the channel, I hope you will subscribe. That would be great. If you are interested in checking me out on Patreon and supporting there, or by joining as a member here on YouTube, the link to the Patreon is in the channel, and I think the link for the membership is literally just below the stream. If you are interested in supporting me further, I'd really appreciate it if you did. I don't have a 100% schedule set up yet. We're still a little ad hoc on the streams. I'm still in the process of applying for a bunch of jobs, so as those pop up, I'm kind of applying for those right away. But once I'm in a bit more of a default state and I know my schedule a little bit better, I'll set up a schedule as well, so that people can know when we're gonna be live, when we're gonna be streaming. But yeah, without further ado, I hope everyone had a good one, and I will see everyone in the next one.